Salute, salute. What's going on, guys? Hey, I'm Sincere, and today we're gonna have a good conversation. Look, man, there's blood in the streets right now. There's blood in the streets. I'm telling you. Listen, everybody who thought they were comfortable, I don't think they're comfortable anymore. We have people from all the big tech companies, layoffs after layoffs. Nobody's comfortable. I'm seeing people on LinkedIn. They're talking about, I was a part of the layoff. I was a part of this uh, software team, and I was part of the layoff. I don't know if we're safe anymore out here, So today we're going to have a conversation, man. Look, I'm starting to think, here I am now 7 years into my personal finance journey, right? And my journey started out with the guy on the thumbnail, Dave Ramsey, right? Dave Ramsey taught us you need to have $1,000 in your emergency fund, right? And then you need to be paying your bills using the debt snowball, paying the lowest amount first, all the way up to the highest amount, right? You need to have a 3 to 6 month emergency fund. Listen to that number, 3 to 6 month emergency fund. So here we are today, right? With a whole bunch of people, very high income earners, who are all in this situation. How many of them are prepared and ready for the next 3 to 6 months of potentially not being employed? Now, we hear a lot of them were fortunate enough to have to have a severance package, but how many of them are prepared for what's getting ready to happen? So today, I've got some gentlemen that are going to come through. They're going to talk about how they would navigate this situation, how to prepare yourself for the inevitable, right? These companies are going to do what's in their best interest. We can't control that. The only thing we can do is control the money that we have and how we use it. So today I'm going to have a conversation with some gentlemen who are going to go through those situations, almost in like a hypothetical sense, right? But hypothetical could be practical tomorrow, right? So I think it's time right now. There's blood in the streets, Tech has blood out there, the transportation business has blood out there. We can say that, the blue collar companies, they're also out there, or the blue collar workers, there's blood out there. So I don't know if anybody's safe anymore. So without further ado, I'm going to bring up the first gentleman right here, who's also in the tech space, right? He's going to have a conversation with us about his take on what's happening right here and how we can prepare ourselves going into the future. So without further ado, I'm going to bring up the Intentional Millionaire.
What is going on, Sim? How is it going, sir?
Salute.
Welcome. Salute.
How's it going, man?
I'm doing pretty good.
Listen, man. It's been a wild week. Matter of fact, probably like a wild 2 weeks, right? I don't know if anybody's safe anymore, man. We were saying for a while, man, if you're in tech, you're safe, baby. You don't have to worry about it. Listen, your $100,000 salary, your $200,000 salary is going to be able to carry you through. But man, I don't think that's the case anymore. Or what do you think, Tim? Do you think that people are prepared for what's potentially getting ready to happen here as we're really going deep into this recession? What's your thought?
I think most people not prepared. If you look at the financial statistics across the board, most people, even high income earners, are not prepared. Here's the reason why. Because most of them wasn't working a plan. Most of them wasn't working a strategy. Most of them were just living and enjoying life. And it's not my saying, just go look at the financial data that supports that. So I would say for most people, no, they're not prepared. But I do think some in the tech space, a lot of people in the tech space that has the skills that's marketable, they're still going to have opportunity and ways to make money. That's why it's so important. I believe it's so important for us to make sure we get skills that can pay us right now, but also skills that's going to be beneficial in our present, but also in the future. So that's my take on it, Sim. You muted.
Yeah. So I mean, I mean, right now, man, it's really hard to tell. It's really hard to tell, and we're getting ready to see who's prepared. Um, it's gonna be interesting because I want to say even the last time we had a recession, was it 14 years ago? In 2008, they said that the tech sector was the first sector to actually start doing layoffs and start doing drawbacks on their staff and their overhead. We have the big tech companies. We have the Facebooks, the Twitter. We have Cisco talking about 4,000 people being laid off. This it's just interesting, and it's not like these people are not talented. They're not some of the best people out there in the space, but it's clear and it's evident that these companies are going to do whatever's in their best interest. Amazon's laying people off. Whatever it is necessary in order for them to be able to trim the fat, take away some of the technology solutions that they were offering out there that are not being utilized, that are not going to be able to carry them through these tough times. We have situations now, Tim, where some of the big guys, some of the higher net worth guys are actually trying to advise people, hey, this Christmas, be careful, be careful. Don't spend money as if you're going to have a job next year. Be careful. We're going to talk about that, and I'm going to be looking forward to seeing what you all have to say. I'm looking forward to seeing what everyone else thinks about what's going on. Let me see. So let's see. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, man, it's really interesting. Now, Tim, can you tell us what's your what's your opinion on Dave Ramsey? What do you think about his concepts and some of his financial philosophies?
So I think Dave Ramsey concept philosophies, I absolutely think they work. That's the first thing. I absolutely support what he do because it helps most people, especially the majority of what the vast majority of most the population sits is in the middle class. And I think it really provide the middle class the infrastructure and the foundation to understand and learn money at a fundamental level. Now, I will say this though, to his baby steps, I think some of it needs to evolve because some of it is outdated. Now, the thing is, some stuff he kind of market and push. For example, the $1,000 emergency fund. I get it, but if let's just say you just started that baby step and you get laid off, what does that really look like? The thing about paying your mortgage off in cash, I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that needs to be updated because you limit your possibility. And for the most, if the average household is $84,000 and you take out just all the basic expenses, there's not much left over to start saving for a house, to buy a house in cash. So I think that's another thing. I think the next thing is his baby steps need to incorporate the type of skills that's required to make the baby steps more foundational solid. What do I mean by that? What are some of the skills that one can have that regardless of a recession or a booming economy that they can still go out and generate and make some type of income? So those are some of the things I think. But I do think it's a great program, but I also think a few steps in the program is outdated. So but that's all I got. What about yourself?
I appreciate it. My bad, Tim. Struggle streaming, man. Struggle streaming. Uh, Give me a second. I don't know. I'm trying to. Okay, got it. All right. Oh yeah, man. So I think that his philosophies are definitely. Here we go. We're gonna go through them right now. Right now. Right now. Here we go. Here we go. Yeah. So I am going to share with you all. All right. So yeah. So here's his baby steps. Right. Baby step number one. Baby step number one. Save $1,000 for your starter emergency fund, right? Baby step number two. Pay all your debts off, except the house, using the debt snowball. And the debt snowball is the philosophy where you're using the lowest balance first. You're paying the lowest balance first all the way up to the highest balance, regardless of whatever the interest rate is for a given debt, right? So you're paying the debt off based upon the balance and not based upon how much the interest rate is, right? Right. So baby step number three, you save 3 to 6 months of emergency fund in a fully funded 3 to 6 months of expenses. Monthly expenses is what constitutes a fully funded emergency fund, right?
Right.
Then he says baby step number 4 is invest 15% of your household income into retirement, right? Baby step number 5 is save for your children's college fund, right? Baby step number 6, I don't know why it's cut off. Baby step number 6. Oh, let's fix this. Baby step number 6 is pay off your house early. And then baby step number 7, build wealth and give generously, right? So those are the things that I am aware of. And I missed. Which one? Let me look. My bad. So those are the things that I'm aware of. So I can say, give me a second, Tim. So what I can say is this: when I was first introduced to his concepts and philosophies, man, it was really clear to me that there was a model to his formula, right? So I remember in 2015, I would sit at my job, and we would sit there and we would do our respective work. And I remember at the time I was addicted to his messaging, right? Because at the time I was working on adopting principles and concepts that I felt like were going to contribute to me having a different mentality. And so that's what I was doing. And it was during that time when I had an opportunity to really discover that that's what I was doing. And it was, excuse me. I discovered that there was a specific formula that I needed to have. Okay, I didn't see. Excuse me. Let me. Why is that? Oh. But yeah, so those are the things that I noticed. Yeah, all right, got you. So yeah, those are the things that I noticed. And what was interesting to me was that I started to see that he had like a specific formula. So like whenever you would have people who would have like, let's say $40,000 salary, right? And what I discovered was that whenever they had the $40,000 salary, he would kind of nudge them. He would say, "Hey, so I see how much you guys are earning. Let's see what we can do about getting your income up higher," right? And along the lines of what we were just talking about is one of the ways that we can really help ourselves, especially in this specific situation, is taking inventory of how we're using our time, right? If we're spending our time doing leisurely things, and then we're also in the same breath not able to really handle our financial situations, those two things don't mix, right? We need to be spending our free time contributing towards opportunities for us to grow. And so that's why platforms like Women in Linux here on YouTube, Women in Linux on Instagram, Women in Linux on Twitter, Facebook, or what have you, all those different platforms serve to be a great opportunity for you to upskill yourselves and put yourself in a better situation. Because in watching and listening to Dave Ramsey, I saw that his formula really came down to the people who had a $80,000 annual income, combined income, or even individual. Those were the people that he was celebrating. He was celebrating their positions. He was celebrating their income levels. And it seemed like an opportunity for them to put themselves in a situation where they could win out here. So that's one of the things that I was able to see from his formula. Now, for me, we actually have another Dave Ramsey advocate. He's joined the platform, right? Listen, Listen, over here, we have people who come from different backgrounds, and so this next man right here needs no introduction, right? So salute to let me get everybody to welcome our brother to the channel, PerryUnlikely.
Salute, gentlemen.
What's
What's
going
going
on?
on, Perry? How's it going?
Doing good, man. Sorry it took me a little bit to get going, man. Trying to get the kids settled and everything, man. But things are going good, man.
Salute.
Things are going good. No complaints, man. You guys doing okay?
Yes, yes.
We figured you was out. We figured you was out closing some deals.
Yeah,
or
yeah,
working
man.
on
Well,
some
actually,
deals,
was
putting
working on some
in
of
the
that too.
pipeline.
Right. Was actually working on some of that too today, man. So doing good, man. Excited to have some discussion tonight.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So what do you think, man? So we had not six. We had, they say, maybe about 30,000 people who were laid off in the last week or so,
Mm-hmm.
And so in your opinion, knowing what you know about Dave Ramsey and his philosophies, do you think that his concepts are going to be favorable to the people who've adopted them leading up to now, the people who are even the higher income earners? What's your thought?
You mean just his principles in general? Hold on 1 second. Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you. Sim is muted. Sim is muted.
Oh, Sim's muted. I got you. So do you mean his principles in general?
Well, yeah. So these principles right here. Let's get back to it right here. So yeah, right here, his baby steps. Do you think that his baby steps?
Oh, absolutely.
Do you think that his baby steps will help us out? Help out the people, the 30,000 people who just recently been laid off. Do you believe that this right here will be helpful to the people who have adopted it and made it a primary focus?
Yeah, I believe it. I believe it will be. So I think it will be better for those who had already adopted it. Right? It's probably a little bit easier because, especially if you're experiencing a job loss, it's probably hard to try to transition like that because a lot of people don't understand. A lot of people who lose a job, you think like they just don't spend. Nah, they just use credit. That doesn't just stop there. The habits don't stop until there literally is no money to at the time. So I think those principles will definitely help because if you think about it, for those who had already taken part in like Dave Ramsey, having that 3 to 6 months, emergency fund. Well, I won't call that the emergency fund, right? But the emergency fund is the $1,000, right? But the fund in case something happens or whatever, right? Having that that's a massive difference. I mean, you got 3 to 6 months to find you a job. So you're in a position where you don't have to rush back and just take any job you get. You have a little more time to get maybe a quality job. So I think the principles definitely ring true. But I think there's going to be a lot more difficulty for those who want to get involved in it now because they don't have the mindset, and it takes a little time to get the mindset when engaging in the principles, the debt snowball and things like that. But yeah, I think at any point in time it's good to head in that direction for a certain subgroup of people. So yeah, I see it as a positive.
So just like we've spoken on before, Perry, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that it takes like situations to humble you, right?
Right.
Even people who thought they were in like this super comfortable position, right? Like it's
right.
like the idea of you putting all your eggs in one basket, right?
Mm-hmm.
And your only focus is the lifestyle that this one opportunity is creating for you, right? And you're not focusing on any other opportunities. You don't have no secondary alternative plan. Much like what Tam teaches on her platform, Women in Linux, is that you can't be just focused on just one opportunity. You need to be looking at yourself as a business. You're a service provider for these companies. You can't look at them as them doing you any sort of favor. So it's up to us to make sure that we're being aggressive about our pursuits, and we're not allowing none of these companies to be our saving grace. Because, I mean, it's been demonstrated here. Hey, okay, what are you going to do now? $300,000, and that was your only opportunity? Was it 1 month, 2 months, 3 months severance package?
Right.
What are you going to do? How much was lifestyle creep really impacting you? You know, were you living in that $6,000 house, and how are you going to come up with those funds?
Absolutely.
With that severance, so it's just really interesting. And I'm just seeing, man, listen, I'm going to show you something. I'm seeing something right here. It's almost hypocritical, right? Almost hypocritical.
Mm-hmm.
So over here, we have a little bit of controversy, right? It's not always on the always on the panel, but sometimes it's the people who are out here talking, right? So look, let me share this with you guys real quick. So look at our boy right here. Look at our boy, right? This is Jeff Bezos, guys. He says, Black Friday, people should not be buying cars, refrigerators, or any other big ticket items, right? Now, this is coming from a man who just bought a $500 million yacht, right? So he's telling y'all. He's telling y'all.
Don't forget all the real estate he's been buying too. But go ahead.
Listen, he's telling y'all, don't make no big purchases now. Don't make no big purchases, because something's getting ready to happen out here, and y'all need to be prepared. Oh, this channel is smart. They got the advertisement that doesn't move. Listen, it says, look at that. It says critics call him out. They're calling him out. Imagine that. Imagine someone who has a $500 million yacht, yo. The yacht's probably as big as 2-3 houses.
It's crazy.
Listen, his yacht was so big in the Netherlands that they were going to have to tear a bridge down in order for it to pass underneath.
Right.
That's crazy.
Because he had them stop the work on it because he moved it to somewhere else.
Listen, he had to take his boat in pieces out there into the ocean in order for it to be assembled. This man is telling you guys, don't make no big purchases now, because something's getting ready to happen out here. Don't buy no cars, don't buy no refrigerators, don't buy no big ticket items. And maybe this is him talking to his employees and not talking to us, but something's getting ready to happen. And it's in our best interest, like I said before, it's in our best interest for us to be investing in high value skills. We need to be figuring out ways for us to put ourselves in position. Tech is a great opportunity because there's still a demand, even with these people, because this is what this other article is saying right here, right? I have this other article right here. This other article is saying this right here. It's saying big tech layoffs are dystopian job fiction, right? They're saying that the idea of these people being in distress. Now, Tim, you can tell me, you've been in the job market a little bit longer than me, right? Mm-hmm. For the first time ever. And Perry, I don't know about you, but tell me if you guys have ever been through a situation where people are publicly saying, I have been impacted by the layoff. I too have been impacted by the layoff. And I am looking and seeking an opportunity for me to get new employment. Have you guys ever been through a situation where people were openly saying that they were impacted by the layoff? Or did we have a situation where people were secretly seeking new employment and not telling the whole country, hey, I was impacted by the layoff at this company, so I'm looking for opportunities? Because I've never been through a situation where so many people are making videos about them being laid off. Oh, I was a tech person at this company and I was impacted by the layoff. So it just seemed like there's no longer the shame that's associated with the layoff, because now this is just like a widespread thing. 30,000 people in a span of like a 2-week period. Have you guys ever seen a situation in the job market where people were saying stuff like this?
Well, I would say it really didn't change from 2008 when we had, the recession then. The difference is it's more platforms. Yeah. It's more platforms, so it's more information being passed now, but it was still the same thing, because you even go back to the Great Depression. I mean, the cycles never change. It's just the people and how they react that makes the difference. And
Right.
it makes it seem, it gives the illusion that things have changed, but it really haven't. It's always going to be in any recession or depression, it's always going to still be skills that you can make money, because you're dealing with people. People dispose foods, they dispose goods. So with that being said, there's always markets out there. I just think that also too is an opportunity for people to be more popular, be in the know. It's a talking point. You still got people with the sense of entitlement from the Great Resignation. So you got all these different things going on. So now when that happened, it's like, oh, woe is me, because the reality is we have a victimhood society. I mean, that's just what it is. So whenever something bad happens, most people are going to get online and talk about it or make it worse than probably what it really is. Because we're in attention-seeking time frame now. So,
yeah, I agree with Tim. I think you hit the nail on the head. One thing I'll just add to that, circumstances change. So one thing about 2008, right? People that would have been saying that went back to school. So how many people went back to school that, I mean, and I'm not saying it's a justification, but if you go back to school, you're not really in that position. Although, you may have to decrease lifestyle and make changes. You're in a position where you're not making as much, but it's not really, because you decide to go to school and whatever may come from that. Now, while you are getting more debt and stuff, that still equates to people who are laid off and, and out of that situation. But yeah, I see it as the same. People being laid off, the difference is times have changed. And as Tim said, people want to, everybody wants to talk about it now. And with all the platforms we have, we've got people getting together, kind of talking about their woes and stuff like that. But at the same time, many people are going to see the best times they've ever had, just like with any other cycle. So it just comes down to, I think it's the same thing. It looks different, 15 years later.
Yeah, I agree. There is, I don't know if I say an oversharing community drastically. I say that there's a good amount of that. It's people who are kind of sharing more of their life. Sometimes it seems a little bit unwarranted, but yeah, there's definitely that. So let's see who we have in the chat. So salute to Uncle Stu. Salute Uncle Stu. Welcome to the channel. Glad to see you. All right. Salute to JT Coin Rings. Welcome back, sir. Glad to see you here. We have First Home Tuber. Good evening. Welcome to the channel. Here we go. Uncle Stu's saying that Perry's trying to get Uncle Stu down there to Georgia.
Yeah.
He said, so he was finding.
Yeah, I was. I told him to come on down. I said, we're gonna get you a house. You're gonna be all right. Come on down here.
Yeah, man. So yeah, definitely that. Salute to Tam. She says 1K. She said 1K won't save them, right?
Right.
So she's talking about us here. 1K is not going to save these people. Man, these people might be spending $3,000-$4,000 just in living expense.
Let me point this out though. 1K is still important. The reason I say that is if you still got to get in the mindset, right? So the mindset is saving something. That's that. So yeah, it won't fix the problem at all, but just the mindset of doing it, I think still is important. And you got to overcome that at some point, and that's with anything, whether it's repairing your credit or whatever, you know what I'm saying? You'd be like, hey, paying off a $200 credit card bill ain't going to do nothing, but you're never going to be able to pay off that 30,000 you got if you can't just get to, 200 or 1,000. So, but I agree with Tam in the bigger scheme. It's not going to do much, but I think the most important thing is the mindset that people have to try to grasp, get a hold of.
For sure, for sure. So then, let's go. All right. So then we have salute to Jam Smith. It's my first time seeing you. I just saw. He said, Jam Smith saying that just saw a video on Orlando Miners channel about this same exact thing. Yeah. So yeah, it's a thing. It's happening, man. 30,000 people out there who are high tech individuals. Some of them might have not worked in the tech space specifically, but it's like something around 30,000. Were you saying something, Tim?
Yeah, I want to add to that because for me, I think this is just media propaganda because they're making people believe it's only in the tech space and that's all they publicizing everywhere. That's just not true. It's across all industries. So I think to me, I just think it's more of an agenda that's not being said and not being told. Because all the headlines is posting tech, but it's industries across the board are laying off, but they don't mention none of those. They only mention in tech. So to me, it seems like is something else going on. It's almost like they're pushing tech, and what's going to end up happening. This is what I think, at least for me. This is what I think. I think that they're pushing tech because it's going to force the tech market, the stocks to go down more. And then some people going to make money on the options. And then for others, they're going to dump a ton in when it gets really low. And then they're going to come back and do it across all industries. And then when the stock go back up, they're going to make a ton of money. But all the ones that's scared because they emphasize and perpetuate in fear. That's at least what I see.
Yeah, let me add to that because a lot of it's fake. And the reason I say that is this. Think about this. Elon Musk and Twitter, that's a different situation. That's him coming in. Anyone who's been in corporate America has heard these words, trim the fat. Anybody in corporate America has heard of that. New company comes in, what's the first thing they do? They trim the fat. So other companies are using that as an opportunity to strictly try to save some money on the balance sheet. Think about it. Many of these companies have been losing money for years, millions. Some of these companies that are cutting, they just want to cut and they're following suit that other people are cutting, and it's not even for the same reason. They've been losing money for years. It's just these companies they just follow each other. I mean, they just continue to follow each other. So it's hard to find out, is it really necessity or not? That's what the challenge is. But I just want to make the distinction between like Elon coming in and when people take over a company, that's normal. Every company I've ever been at, there's going to be some cuts when new people come in certain positions, some turnover. No different than football, right? New coach comes in. Traditionally, the whole team gets cut. And then, they put their things in place, make changes, but it just is advantageous for other companies to say, well, you know what, we're going to cut too. And with the media, it's just like this spiraling effect, because the truth is, if a company knows what they're doing, some of these cuts would have happened before. I mean, it can't just be that all companies decide they need to cut at the exact same time. That's just following suit. You'd be cutting way before. So that's my take on it. And ultimately, because I looked at a lot of data today, really good data, going back literally like 60s, 50s. This is in line. It literally happens every single time. The job cuts come, then we're in a recession now based off of the definition of recession. Job cuts come, then we admit we're in a recession. And then people are like, oh, we've hit a recession. We're already in one. Every single time we hit one, people act like it's not one. 2 consecutive quarters. Job cuts come. You got the Fed saying, I just don't see it happening at 3.5%, 3.5% unemployment, just like clockwork. Yeah, it's 3.5% unemployment today. What's it going to be 3 months from now, right? And then as soon as those job cuts come, the media starts just throwing out crap, and then boom, like clockwork, we'll start to admit we're in a recession, and will rinse and repeat again. I mean, it happens every single time. And you can see charts going back 50 years, 70 years. It's the same cycle in the same months every single time. So it's going to be interesting to see it unfold. But at the end of the day, it's going to be the same thing we saw last time. A little bit different than 2008. Not quite the same as that, but we're still going to see a lot of the same, the same stuff happen. And just a lot of this is just centered around the talk about inflation. It's the talk about it, and stuff like that. So we'll see how it unfolds.
Yeah, man. So
and we have to know that Biden said that we're in a slight recession.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
The key word, slight.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
But I totally agree, Perry, because that's the thing. You have to know that everything goes in cycles.
It does.
Everything, your relationship. I mean, us as human beings, it's cycles. That's what you call age. So I think everything. I think this is one of those things where and this is what I try to always, mention is we just got to make sure that we do due diligence and we use the media as a gauge and then take the information and apply it to you. And then ask yourself, does this, whatever they're talking about, how does this apply to me? So right now, if a person is looking and seeing they're getting wary because of jobs laying off, this and that, my question then become, have you identified your skills in the industry you're working in, and would it be here 5 years from now, 10 years from now? And if the answer is yes, then my question then become, what are you doing to add more skills to that? And then if the question is no, what are you doing to gain new skills to get into a new industry? Because we can't keep doing the same thing over and over, and then we act surprised when the cycle wave come around. The cycle always going to go in 4 cycles: a booming economy, a downturn, recession, and recovery. That's for everything.
And I think something that's important for us to do is be real clear, because we hear it all the time about skill, right? So I'm gonna just put it this way: I have a Intentional Millionaire. I have a degree in a business degree. I focus heavily in accounting, but in supply chain management and logistics. I would like to get in engineering. What do I need to do to get an engineering job based off of what I told you I just have? That's a real question. And I don't have the answer to that. What could I do to get into engineering based off of what I just told you? And just to clarify, I'm going to say software engineering, because I know there's many different types, right? I'm going to say software engineering. What would I need to do?
So the first thing you need to do is identify and understand that you're going to be very math focused.
Right.
So you got it. If you don't like math, then you got to lose that concept that you don't like math.
Right.
There's a ton of people in engineering that made it through, that had that concept, but they understood that it was all a mental thing and not necessarily the math itself.
Right.
Because the great thing about math, the answers is already there most of the time.
Absolutely.
So that's the first thing. Then the next thing is, I would say, now go sit down, go to the library, get online, and start identifying. If you want to do software engineering, start niching down to a particular niche.
Right.
Why that's important? Because you make the most money when you niche down. If you stay general across the board, you're going to get compensated general, but also too, you got to niche down because you want to niche to something that's going to be around today and tomorrow. So that's the next thing I say do. Then after you do that, I say now you got to sit down and identify how you're going to pay for the school. I would recommend you go to a community college, go to accredited community college, and then see about, as you're going to the community college, see about then transfer on an academic scholarship to a college that's going to accept your accredited credits. So now you can get a bachelor's degree in that field. Right. Now, if you already come with some level of programming or understanding programming, then maybe you could look at just getting a cert in that programming field you're already familiar with. then you could probably jumpstart a lot faster because you already have the skill set and talents already.
Absolutely.
So it just really depends on the individual, but that's kind of the road I would go down. Then I say the next thing is find somebody in the field and start. Basically, they're going to become your mentor and start asking them the questions, start getting an understanding of the curriculum. And then you got to know that you're going to make a 4-year sacrifice to get the rest of your life gains.
Perfect.
I think that's really what it boils down to.
And I asked that because I gave my qualifications so that people understand, I got to ask those questions based off my qualifications, but also to gain money quicker. The thing I'm already going to do, right? Being in supply chain, first of all, I'll never do without a job because products are moving everywhere all the time. And I've been in the transportation sector. But see, what I already know is to make the best money for me as a software engineer, I need to look at, personally, I would feel I need to go into looking at transportation management systems. There's all kinds of, tracking trucks around the country, software for different, for all kinds of companies that want to track where the trucks are at. How do we communicate with our customers? Those are things where, because I already have the base of knowledge. So when you go to choose what skill, when we say, hey, work on skill, base that skill. You don't have to, but if you're trying to get to the money quicker, you base that skill off of something you already know. So that's why I say, for me, being in transportation all these years, I'm going to look at taking the supply chain degree I already have. I'm pretty good on accounting as well, taking those things and saying, okay, what can I do with transportation management systems to, so for example, whether it's Uber, whether it's food service distribution companies trying to know where the trucks are at and things like that, I can take that, get into the engineering side, and then start working on the back end away from actually managing employees like I have, 2 to 250 employees like I have for years. But I just thought it was important to highlight that, because a lot of people don't know how you actually acquire that skill. So I think that was great information.
Right.
Intentional.
And I add to that because I think for you, Perry, I think you're in a unique case. But let's just say we talking about somebody that they was working at. Let's just say they was working at Wendy's.
Right.
So and here's the reason why I say the mentor is so important, because what you'll find sometimes people try to finagle their way to shortcuts.
Yep.
And not understanding, okay, well, I've been doing this for 20 years, but I don't necessarily want to start over. So let me try to do this and do that. And they'll waste more time trying to shortcut versus coming in with the mindset, let me start from zero. I know I got skills, but let me start from zero. And that's why the mentor would be so important, because they're going to extract out of you the skills that you already have. And then they're going to build off of that.
Right.
Because what ends up happening for most people that haven't worked in, a more managerial type of field.
Right.
Or they may not necessarily come from a skill set that's a little bit more demanding from the standpoint they can make a shift, and it could be the sky's the limit. So it's more about just starting wherever you at and try to treat it as though you're starting from ground level, but you're really not. Because a lot of people I found, they'll try to, well, I'm not going to do this because I come from this, and I'm not going to do that. I don't want to start over because I'm already older and this and that. But you got to go in with the mindset, let me start from zero, but I could build and I could start jumping some layers.
Yeah, I agree with that. And actually, I went from, I worked in restaurants for years. I used that to get a sales job selling all kinds of products to restaurants. I talked to people that delivered those products for me, realized, hey, with the recession and stuff coming, you know what? What if I look at the back end of things, how they get these products, where they're going? Went and got the supply chain management degree. Because I had already worked for food service distribution, was able to roll that into a management job with a supply chain degree. And then from that point up. So, and that came from working in restaurants for years. I mean, that's what, and the sales job, by the way, paid really good as well. It's just, sales, you need to be good at it. And at the same time, just looking down the road, I felt like for me, getting that and rolling that into an actual management job with just a guaranteed paycheck over time was what was best for me at the time. Right. So absolutely. Yeah, I definitely agree with you because that is important. It's very important that people understand that you start where you're at. Right. And that's why the whole time I knew, going from working in restaurants to going over to the sales portion, that's why I knew when I went back to school, all right, what do I have? I have the restaurant. Now I have this degree. I could have went into something else, but I knew the money opportunity was going to be the same field I was in and applying that in the same place because I knew they'd look at me, and that's exactly what happened. It was an internship, but when they knew I understood the business, they were like, hey, we'll give you a full-time job. And they hired me and an intern because I told them what I already had and was able to prove that. So yeah, absolutely. And everybody has skill. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. And it pains me. Somebody right now is working at a Target. And there's obviously a wide range of Target jobs, but somebody's working at a Target managing inventory. And I don't know what you would make, right? But they could literally add some type of education or some type of formal program for inventory management and could step into making 70, 80, 90 grand like that. But they only see themselves where they're at, not understanding they are doing the exact same thing right now, probably making half what someone else is that may even just have a 2-year degree or something like that in inventory management. So you can't just look and say, well, this is all I have. Trust me, there are tons of people making half the amount of money that do more work. It's about what you can show on paper. And then when you get your chance, you got to show out when you get in the door. That's what it's all about. Putting yourself in, you got to put yourself in position. And I'm sure everybody's heard this story about Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford worked on movie sets. It was because he was working on movie sets that then I believe it was George Lucas, I think, that saw him and said, hey, I got a role for you, Indiana Jones. It's because he was in position. So you got to figure out what you got to do to put yourself in position and the opportunities will come. But if you just stay in that role and just say, I can't do it, tons of people are going to continue to move up and pass you, and you're going to be in the same place. So yeah, great insight, Intentional.
Yeah. So, and along the lines of what you all have just said, for me, I spent for the very first time working in a manufacturing environment, right? Mm-hmm. And it was the first time the concept of an ERP, enterprise resource planning program,
right, absolutely,
was being put into place. And I had no idea, and it allowed them to be able to get a snapshot of what exactly of where a specific part was at in the manufacturing process. They could track it from the time that it was at station number 1 all the way to when it was going out the door, And so the ability to be able to trace and follow a specific item, there's technology associated with that. And those are the conversations that Tam would have on Women in Linux. She would say, look at where the technology is at in the respective field. And then you can figure out how you can insert yourself to be an asset that's assisting that company deliver a specific product. So, that's something that I found to be really, really helpful because it's a good way of looking at things without looking at it from a standpoint where you don't really have the ability to understand. And you just start off at what you know and then use that to help you get a further understanding, right? So then this is something that I also came across that was really interesting, right? So look, so then they said right here, so along the lines of what happened with the Twitter layoffs, right? They said that there was an employee who was fired for helping people who were potentially facing layoffs. And essentially what this person was doing was he developed a tool. He says days after Twitter was acquired by Elon Musk, right? Because he developed a tool to allow workers to save important documents in anticipation of mass layoffs. Because he did this right here, they saw him as a threat to the book of business, right? They felt like he was inciting fear within the company culture. And just like he assumed, it happened shortly after he was telling his coworkers, hey, you guys need to be preparing yourself for that fat trimming that we were talking about earlier, right? And so he's now suing the company Twitter because of them laying him off or letting him go, saying that he was engaging in protected activity when he shared the software to the internal channel, you know? And, you know, the company would think otherwise because they believe that he was doing something that was threatening their book of business, you know? What do you guys think about that, you know? Do you guys think that it's fair for someone to prepare his coworkers for the threat of being laid off, you know, because with all acquisitions, we almost always know that there's a layoff coming. There's somebody is either going to be a consultant walking around asking you, what's your job? What is it that you do? Right. And then they're walking around trying to see if your specific role is a valuable component to the business or whether it's not, it's something that they can go ahead and afford to let go. So what do you all think about it? I'll start off with you. The Intentional Millionaire.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I call the article. I would say the article is missing some key information. I would want to know, was that in the contract? Basically, him being an employee, was that a violation of his employment? I would want to know what exactly. It seems like that's missing information. So I can't really say on that, because here's the thing about that, at least for what I'm seeing, it's like they taking everything now and making it out Elon Musk is this bad, you know, he's the devil all of a sudden because he's doing what most businesses do. The difference is they're not Elon Musk. So it never gets this level of publicity. But because he's Elon Musk and he's coming in, and now he's like the bad guy. And I just think this is normally what happened when you have layoffs. People sue because they laid off. People try to do stuff because they laid off. They try to find a way so they can sue because they seem like it's a way they can get money. On top of we in a suing culture, on top of you got a billionaire that owns the company now that's firing people. Well, let me sue him in the company and see if I can get some out of this. That's what I believe. So I think I think the article is lacking probably some key information. So I can't really say, at least for me.
So yeah, so this is what it says, guys. This is what it says. It says protected activities are actions that workers can take without fear of employer retaliation, right? He's saying that this activity should have been protected, right? So this one gentleman, his name, I think it was Emmanuel Cornet, right? He says that Cornet was based out of San Francisco. It said in the complaint that he was fired on the 1st, a few days before the Twitter began laying off about half of its staff in a cost-cutting bid by Musk, right? They had to mention that he was the world's
right. Right? See, that's a red flag right there. Man, flag on the play.
That was a jab. That was a barb, though, man. I mean, they were coming at him by saying that. Why do you have to mention that he's the richest person when it's obviously like a business move because it benefits the business, and even if you have too much overhead, then it doesn't make sense for you to have an absurd amount of staff if they're not able to get you the outcome that you desire, right? So what do you think, Perry?
Well, I see this stuff, man. I've seen this stuff so long now. Just like Intentional said, something's missing, but here's the deal. That person that's upset, most likely it's not going to matter anyway. You know why? They were given a certain amount of time to sign on that dotted line and either get that money, and they probably took it because they weren't listening to Dave Ramsey. See, that's where this stuff plays a part. Now, I guarantee you a high percentage of people in these situations, right? These severance agreements, they put it in front of you. Hey, you got a week, you got whatever, you can sign this and go on. That lawsuit won't mean anything anyway. That's just how it's going to, that does not going to mean anything. So the thing is if you don't take that money, you can go and do your lawsuit and, you might end up being okay, but you might not. And you don't have the lawyers in most cases to continue to fight that. So the truth is, certainly by November 1st, those people have already, their time is up, and many of them have went ahead and signed on there and then cashed that check because they weren't financially ready. That's how these things generally work. And as far as the protected activity, yeah, there's definitely some details. There's definitely some details that are probably missing, but they're making a lot of this is being made out to be a big deal only because it's Elon Musk. This stuff happens every single week of every single year, recession or not. It's just another day on the block every single day. So I think they're overplaying it because it's Elon Musk.
Yeah, I totally agree, Perry. Totally. It's the typical, I'm about to get fired, so I'm gonna complain. I've seen it so many times, especially when I worked at the hotel. They fired somebody and they said, well, you gonna see me in court.
Right. Hey, just so I can say this real quick. I saw it said, bro, I saw the news. This is Mr. Austin. Bro, I saw the news. It said outlet that described Elon's demands as ridiculous. It said, I started rolling. Being made to work 40 hours a week is ridiculous. Exactly. It's like, are you serious? And dude one guy was working like 4 hours a week for like the past quarter. It's like, dude, you're working, bro. I mean, I know in the line of business I've been in, 65, 70 is the standard. You'd not dare work less than 55, 60 hours a week. You not dare do that. Everybody would look at you like you're a fool. So, I mean, it's just crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So they're demonizing it, but see, nobody's demonizing all the money and all that extra stuff being spent and not making a product better, not adding to the bottom line. It's always when a new person comes in. And what happens in these instances, because here's what else I saw. I saw a picture after all that happened. I then saw a picture. Matter of fact, I saw it today on Twitter, and it was Elon sitting around chilling with a bunch of employees. Somebody was making a joke about it being all men, and they're like, this is what y'all do on Friday night, because there was like no women there, right? And basically the point I'm making is that those people, right, there's always people also, they're like, yo, this is Elon Musk. I'm definitely staying down. The stuff I can learn from this, and I'm going to get down and do what I got to do. So while they'll talk about the negatives and people leaving, I'm not going to say this is fact, but there's a very good chance the people that didn't have an issue, because you come in and tell me, yeah, you're going to work 60 hours a week. All right, whatever. It don't make me no difference. It's all I know. Those people a lot of them were probably holding up the weight anyway. It is the truth. Because if you were working 4 hours a week, you needed to go anyway. And that was whether Elon was there or anybody else. That's just the truth. It didn't matter if it was Elon or not. You weren't doing your job. And think about all the money you sucked out of a company, getting a paycheck and not doing anything for God knows how long. So
exactly right. And so I mean, it becomes more of an accountability thing. They know how much work they've been doing.
Right.
And coming from a place like SpaceX, Tesla, what's interesting to me is that I've kind of paid attention to the people who worked at PayPal back in the day. And I don't know what they call it. There's a specific term that's associated with all the people
the PayPal mafia.
PayPal. Is that what they call them? The PayPal mafia.
Yeah.
Everyone from PayPal, they
super
moved
successful.
on to do super successful things out here.
Absolutely.
And I want to say the guys who invented YouTube came from PayPal. The guys who Peter Thiel, who was a famous or popular angel investor in Facebook, he came from the PayPal group. And of course, we can point out the fact that Elon Musk came from that, and he's just went on to really do amazing things. So let's I'm gonna acknowledge the chat. So we have
It's the
go ahead. Go
I was
ahead.
gonna say real quick, it's the 80-20 rule. He got rid of 80% of the dead weight and kept the
Fredo.
20% of the workers.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing, but it goes to show you how some people, it's wishy-washy because they have a problem with it if they was the lazy employee, but all the employees that was carrying the bulk of the work and the weight, they have no problem with it because they know they was working anyway.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you know what you've been doing, you know, even if you were doing something and you were a part of the layoff, you know, it should be no real sweat, you know, off your back because you know ultimately that you could be an asset to someone else.
Yep, absolutely.
Right. So here we go. We have Next Gen Investor. Salute. I think it's my first time seeing you here. Next Gen Investor TV. Salute. Welcome to the channel. Salute our brother, Mr. Awesome. If they give adequate time and compensation, then it's completely fair, right? So along the lines of what he's saying right there, right? This is what they said. So they said in California, right? They said Mr. Emmanuel Cornett, right, was based out of San Francisco. So they filed the complaint stating that this is what the complaint said, right? He says Cornett and four other Twitter employees have filed a lawsuit in California's court on Friday, accusing the social media company of violating a federal and California law requiring employers to give 60 days notice before engaging in mass layoffs, right? It says Musk, in a series of tweets on Friday, said workers who were laid off were offered a 90-day severance pay, which can satisfy the Twitter's obligation under the notice laws, right? So it negates the whole argument that they didn't get notice, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And they're not going to do, and that's what people don't understand. They're not going to do that. The first thing that happened when he bought it, I guarantee you, lawyer, what do I need to do to make this quick and clean? What I need to do to let people know, hey, here's what we're going to do. You're moving on. And you know what they said? Well, California law requires 60 days. Go ahead and give him 90 just for the heck of it. Pay him 90 and boom, let's move on. And that's exactly what happened. So yeah, that lawsuit, it's not gonna stand up. There's no way it does.
And you know the whole law system is all a money grab anyway, right?
Yep.
It's all about who has staying power, and those who have staying power are the people who can afford to do it. You mean to tell me that somebody, him and his group of 4 other people, can pay for them to have continuous out there in the court system, or can they be able to? Are they able to afford it for a short span of time, and then they're going to find themselves saying, "Hey, the money that we were going to get from Twitter as a severance package is now less than the money that we spent in legal fees. It's almost not worth it." And they've satisfied their requirement, the 60-day notice, with the 90-day severance, right? So that's it, you know. So that's one thing that I've noticed. So let me go back to the chat, and here we go. Mr. Awesome says, we did talk about this right here, where they're demonizing him, and the fact that 40-hour work weeks seem to be ridiculous. And there is a little bit of the notion where people are trying, and even probably with the advent of automation, people are grown accustomed to having less than a 40-hour work week, and having shorter work days because they've had an opportunity to really to become proficient with their work, and they don't have to worry about that no more, right? So yeah, here we go. We already spoke on this, that they were demonizing him. Salute to Last Call for Insight. Salute. Glad to see you over here, sir. And what does Last Call for Insight say? He says, this is a very good point by Perry, right? Take advantage of the resources available. Elon, in the office, and by hanging out with him and learning from him while he's there, just happens to be there, is a great opportunity, because now here you are, you have someone who is a pioneer, who's doing amazing things, in the world, not even in just America, just in the world in general. And you have an opportunity to be able to understand his mindset and to really see what his workflow is like. And then you can have an opportunity to deploy that in your respective book of business, you know?
Absolutely.
So here we go. Mr. Last Call for Insight says, unfortunately, you can sue anyone for anything, right? And you may not win, waste your own time and resources in the process. Unfortunately, it is exactly what it is. And it seems like California is a very litigious community in general, you know? It seems to be like a great opportunity for people to just sue people for just anything. Oh man, I didn't see. Okay. All right. So we have our resident tech expert who is joining us, and we have Miss Tam. So welcome, Tam, to the panel.
What's going on, fellas?
How's it going?
What's going on, Tam?
How you
is
doing?
it? I meant Dominique.
Dominique.
I meant Tam.
If I had a rose, I would give it to you.
Send me one digital.
I will. I'm gonna send you one tonight.
So
by the way, y'all, before we get started, Tam just had a birthday. So tell Tam happy birthday. Her birthday was on the 15th.
Yeah,
happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Everybody say happy birthday in the chat. Happy birthday, Tam.
I'm Benjamin Buttons. I reverse backwards. So I turned this year 25. Last year I was 26.
Okay.
Well, yeah. So what do you think, Tam? What do you think about the blood in the streets in the tech space? Do you think it's room for people to be worrying out here?
If you look at, I think it's layoffs.fyi. If you look and see who's laying off, you see that most of the startups, and this I talked about this on the show this weekend when we start getting into stocks and companies that have been around 25 years and 50 years, your aristocrats and your kings. And it's funny you mentioned this because I said this weekend. I was like, you have not heard about Anheuser-Busch laying off. You have not heard about any of the major beer brands laying off, any of the companies that have been around for forever. You have not heard about them laying off. Even on the government side, even the government contracting side, you have not seen those layoffs. So it's where the niche is at, where your skills is at, and who's doing what in those arenas. And that's just what I've seen over the years that I've been in tech. Am I worried about the layoffs? No, I'm not worried about them. I think you're gonna find different sectors are gonna be affected, and some won't be affected. I haven't heard anything regarding healthcare industry being laid off, anything in the energy sector. Haven't heard about layoffs in those sectors, and just something you have to be abreast about, and just notice that where the jobs are at, right? And when I say that, it goes back to that skill set. It's like being able to have skill sets that go across multiple industries. So if you're working in healthcare and you want to change and switch up, and you want to work, say you want to go work for the government, or you want to go work working with cars, like I talked about Mercedes and their infrastructure. If you got some skill sets that you can go across multiple industries, you don't worry about these things. And you got to find that unique skill set. It's an art, but there are a set of skills that go across every industry. Like, I think sales is one of those things that go across every industry. And I also think product management, project management, they go across every industry. And so when you're looking at where people are getting laid off at, you have to ask yourself, what skill sets do they have now to re-enter back into the market, if they choose to re-enter back into the market? Because some people may go solo and start doing consulting, or they may switch up, right? So that's my insight on it.
As we see here, right? So looking at this, the site that you've outlined, right? So here we have right here, Meta had 11,000 people laid off, right? Amazon had 10,000 people laid off. Booking.com, 4,000, you know, and we could say that the numbers are high in the tech space, but I don't think that it's always a reflection of the entire book of business. Now we have one company right here, Katera, says that they laid off 100% of their staff right
Yeah,
here.
and they're probably a startup as well too. Like the startup space is one of those spaces, it's a hit or miss. It's one of those spaces where you'll have a set of skills, you'll enter, you hope that that startup is gonna have enough money in reserves to continue on through a pre-seed, a series A, a series B, a series C, and then you hope that they IPO. I mean, some companies don't IPO for 10, 15 years, right? So you may be sitting there with employee owned stock, and the company may not IPO for 10 or 15 years, or they may never IPO. They may get bought out and become private. A good example of a company like that is Know Before. They're based out of Clearwater. They're actually a security company that has been around for 12 years. And they went public and IPO'd a, a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, went back private, and then got bought by Vista Equity, which is Robert Smith's company, for $4.6 billion. So they went public and then they went back private. Uh, and then those are the things that you have to look out for, like when you're working with startups and that type of equity space and earning and so forth. So, even though Amazon has been around for a very long time, they still run as and operate as a startup. So does Tesla. They still operate as a startup, right? They're still in startup mode. So the fact that he's asking for 40, 50, 60, 75 hours is just not uncommon.
Yeah, that's very true. And what's interesting is that I would almost liken the startup space almost to like a pilot, right? You know how like movies pilot, right? And they'll have like a trial period to see what the views and the attention is in the audience space, and if people are not responsive to it, then they'll ultimately end up not going past the pilot period. Or they could actually make it through the first season and then they ultimately end up canceling it. So I think that it's helpful for people to understand that it is uncommon. It's not uncommon. Oh, hold on. It's not uncommon for these companies to okay. It's not uncommon for these companies to go into the space where they're trimming the fat and they're going back and forth between being on the public in the public sector and going to the private space. I didn't know that there was an actual move to actually take companies back private until I started paying attention to Twitter and what Elon
Mm-hmm.
Musk was talking about doing. So for me, it's interesting to see that, and I think that their move was more so about being able to take action in a manner where he wasn't having to answer to anyone, right? He was able to dictate, hey, this is the things that I want to get done. I don't want to have to go through the board. I don't want to have to go through
Right.
shareholders in order for me to make that happen. So
Right.
I think that is really good.
There's something to be said than not having to answer to the calls and so forth, right? There is that, but then it's also the ability to maneuver how you see fit, not for the profit of the shareholders, right? So that's still one aspect of it, and then the other aspect of it, what um that is often getting missed in a lot of the companies, right? Especially on the startup side, is the research and development, right? There's like Amazon had some of those cuts was research and development. And then some of the cuts in other companies was on the sales side, right? That's the thing about sales. It is a trim the fat type of situation, right? We can go out and source because now we have a name behind ourselves, and so we can do the marketing and so forth, and we only need two or three people on our team in order to make that sale. We don't need 40 people for sales, right? We just need a couple of people, and then as we start to get more people brought in, we'll beef up that. But then you'll find somebody who may be just a salesperson, and then a sales engineer come back to do sales and sales engineer, because now they're being, you know, thrown between two positions, right? So you'll see that happen as well too. So it's something to be said about your skill sets and having the ability to move, you know, back and forth in between, I guess, skill sets, or the ability to move in between industries.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So, so on your channel, you've covered this topic, right? So, in your opinion, right, do you think that deploying Dave Ramsey's philosophies here in these tough times, right?
Mhm.
Do you think that if they had not prepared themselves up to now, do you think that they'll be able to pull themselves out of this situation by deploying Dave Ramsey's philosophies, his 7 baby steps, because we need Dave to save us.
All right. I mean, I hear you on that. The other part, I was listening earlier, and I heard Perry talk about it, and Perry said yes, and I agree to an extent, and I disagree. Where I disagree is he goes with 6 months. I say you need a year, and here's why I say you need a year. I go with a year because if anybody's ever worked in tech or know the number of hours that you keep up, you need probably at least a month to sleep. You need probably at least a month to get your resume together and figure out the direction you want to go in, and then you're gonna spend at least another 2 months on job hunting and so forth, right? If you have set yourself up for that, and the other part of that is you may want to gain new skill sets. So those new skill sets may take 3 months for you. So I really say you could trim that down to 8 months, but really I say you need a year to set yourself up, because I know when I took off, I took off a month. Really, it was more like 3 months, but a good hardcore month. But it wasn't enough in order for me to do a deep dive into what direction I want to go in, daily studying. Like if you're taking a class like on Coursera, and you're doing some really technical deep dive stuff, it may take you 2 or 3 months just to get the information, and then get the information enough where you can really truly understand it, and then go take the test, right? So that may take 3 or 4 months for that. So you're doing that not because you're wanting to go back and get the same job you already had. You want to get the job with the new skill set so you can get more money, right? So you can make more ends. That's really what it is, right? You're wanting more money. So that's just my thought process on that.
Got it. So let me see. I'm trying to get this going. So yeah, so salute to TLA. So we got TLA in the house. We got a celebrity in here, guys. We got the lead attorney in the house. So salute to TLA. So he's come through. Look at that. He's talking about the Intentional Millionaire. Hey, listen, TLA. We just celebrated Tam's birthday. So yeah, don't forget to tell your fellow ATLian happy birthday. Listen, and Tam told us something today, TLA, that I didn't know. Listen, how about Tim, the Intentional Millionaire, is down there in Florida getting flowers from women? Man, listen, Lee, remember how you said that you would sign up to be Oprah's sugar baby any day, right? So
She
Tim
sure,
is
she
down there.
sure, she sure was. She was like, "Hey."
Listen. Tim is getting flowers out there at the club down there in Florida, man. So you might want to consider going down there, getting on some of that pension, getting in on some of that pension money, man. You know, I know he said that he'd be
Hey, they don't have pensions. They retired millionaires walking around down there on Beach Drive. They retired millionaires.
They got right down there. Yeah. So so salute to the to the lead attorney, and so you know it's just really good though. You know, I think that it's important for us to really like have like strategic conversations, and right now is the time that people can really prepare themselves. You know, and even myself, right, as a beneficiary. So last week I spent time training with Tam, and you know, as a result of being affiliated with Tam's platform, I had an opportunity to be trained to upskill myself and to take a Kubernetes workshop. And as a result of me doing that, now I have a more marketable position in the space, right? Now I have an opportunity to have a bigger ask of the tech community in general. I'm just not coming to them with the opportunity that was there to me before that they had only given to me. Now I'm also coming to the table saying, hey, look at the work that I've done. And as a result of that, you know, now I can be a lot more aggressive in my negotiations. And that would not have happened had I not been on Tam's platform. So right now, given what we have going on, I'd say go to Women in Linux. Go to Women in Linux. You can go there on a given Saturday. She has tech, stocks, and jobs, right? And then on Saturday, she has her second show where they're talking about Linux, and they're talking about the drilling down on how we Linux, right? And it's really, really important that we take the time to take advantage of an opportunity for you to upskill yourself. Tam does a really good job of being patient. She's sitting up here seeing an opportunity to invest in the people and to create a sentiment where you're not making less than $200,000, you know, and $200,000 a year is the low side of the conversation. And now we have an opportunity to have a more aggressive position as it pertains to take advantage of opportunities to invest in the market, taking advantage of opportunities to invest in the real estate space. So take your time out to go to Women in Linux. You can find her, Women in Linux, on all the platforms, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and here on YouTube, Women in Linux. I'm telling you, it's worth it. $1,500 ticket that I had last week as a result of me being on her platform and me telling myself that I'm going to sit down and I'm going to upskill myself so I can have a bigger shovel for me to dig myself out of this mess that we have going on out here, you know? So that's enough I'll say about that, but definitely Women in Linux. So you don't think that Dave Ramsey is going to save us, Tam, at all?
No, I'm gonna tell you why. I put a link in the back chat for you. Put a link in the back chat, and
yep. So
you take a look at that link, and then we can all discuss. Because
okay, here we go.
There's another one that came out right after this link as well too. I was gonna wait till Saturday to discuss it, but I feel like this is worthy of that discussion to have here with you all.
All right, let me I have to fix my screen. I think it's a black screen. Okay. All right. Here we go.
So Tam, this gonna go with his pay cash for all your houses, right?
Exactly my point, right? This goes to that point. Like pay, I mean, unless you're doing deeds, right? Or you're doing a subject to or some tax liens, I just don't see how people are gonna do it, right? Home buyers need $107,000 annually to afford a typical home in the US. And if you get deeper into that article, it breaks it down from different cities as well. It goes up in different cities. Like a new one came out, 8 different cities that you need 200,000. And I'm just like, at this point, I keep saying that, we are going to need to improve our skills, that like making the baseline 200 as our baseline. And again, like say people laugh at me, but now we're at 100,000 now, 107. Let me be clear, at 107, and I don't see that going backwards. I just don't.
Yeah, and it's wild, right? Like we can't afford to have like what they say, low vibration. We could say even like low income conversations. We don't have to allow the low level to be our bar, right? We can choose to invest our time, cut out the TV, put your head down for 6 months. 6 months, become determined in upskilling yourself. Like I said, Women in Linux is a great platform for people having an opportunity to upskill themselves and to put themselves in position, because $107,000 a year. I mean, even like this whole six-figure conversation, $100,000 is just the beginning of a six-figure conversation, But you can put yourself in position for you to earn a sizable amount of money. I've been looking at jobs. You can look on LinkedIn, and what I love about LinkedIn these days is that you can go on LinkedIn and you can actually sort out, say, I want remote jobs, right? And then you can also say, okay, I don't want no jobs paying less than $100,000. And then that's all it would show you. And then you can take those roles and you can say, hey, okay, these are the roles that they have. Now I can figure out how I can become a candidate based upon what they're asking for. Not even the preferred roles, because the preferred skills are wish, but the mandatory skills, those are the ones that you can start at. And as someone who's been doing Linux for the last 2 years, 2.5 years, I've discovered that Linux is a super valuable asset in the tech space. And it's something that a lot of people are not doing. And it seems to be really the heart of working in tech, though. What would you say, Tam?
It's the baseline on all the clouds. I mean, that's what the cloud is defined on. Even there's satellites as well too. Even your watch, your phone, like most of our stuff are in some format of embedded Linux or Linux itself. And then not only that, we're at the age now where we're doing, the whole edge computing. And when I say edge computing, your actual Alexa, your Google Home, your Nest, your air conditioner at home, all of those, to control your air conditioner, control your lights. Those are all edge devices, and they're all running on some format or some form of Linux. And so that's not going anywhere, and people are going to continue to make these strides, make these things, or make these actual items, and we're going to continue to use them. So we're always going to be in need of that, right? That's just what it is. That's just where we're at. So having the ability to know how to fix those devices is another one for small appliances. Another one is to being able to build those things, right? So we're just at that era now where Linux is just like a baseline. People just assume that you got it, right? It's just an assumption there. It wasn't like that 15 years ago. That was an assumption 15 years ago.
Yeah, so that's the part that's the most interesting to me, is that the class that I took with you last week alongside you, it really showed me that even the skills that I've developed in the last 2.5 years have been just like scratching the surface on really understanding how everything works. But along the lines of what Perry was saying before, if I take what I'm doing currently and then I'm learning a new skill, I can just draw parallels with what I'm doing today and draw parallels with what I'm learning. And then it creates an opportunity for it to act as a bridge, as opposed to being something that's far out of reach and I have no earthly way of really conceptualizing how it comes together. So that's what I was able to really discover last week. But had I not had that experience, then I would be still feeling like, okay, there's still a significant amount of information that I need to still learn. And there is, but I'm not at the place that I thought I was at,
And
from
I got a question
skill
for
space.
Perry and Tim. Like, with your current skill sets now, how do you? Because I know that you all have a diverse set of skill sets. Do you continue to improve on those, or do you just take what you got and just keep buying more real estate, or you just stay in the same lane? Like, do you continuously improve? Like, oh, I learned this skill last year. I'm gonna implement it this year, I'm gonna learn a new skill and keep going, or do you just kind of have you come to a place where you've leveled out?
You go ahead. You go ahead, Intentional Millionaire.
I say do both. I think that for me, and I speak for myself. I continue to take my skills, use them, make them current, gain new skills. But what I look for when you talk about the parallel, how can I, if I just learned a new skill, something new, how can I go out, use that where I'm currently at, but also use that to curtail another opportunity or another lane? I think the key, from at least for myself, is trying to always continue to move, because the thing about it is, if you're not moving forward, you automatically moving backwards, even if you stand still. So for me, that's kind of one of the things I always try to do. That's why I'm so excited about, commodity. So because that's another thing, having some skills in that field a little bit, not at that level, but that's going to take me to another level. But from that, it is a gateway down a whole nother path that we bridge in with, tech, finance, money, is bridging it all together. And now I think it creates the whole pie. And then with that whole pie, I think you can now either take that pie, you can take and make a whole nother pie, or you can take that pie and just make it larger. So it just really depends. And I think it depends on the individual. For me, that's what I try to do. I just try to always use my skills. So for example, like even I talked with you about Linux, or, doing GPS, but I have a background with Linux. However, I could take and utilize that background with my soft skills, my people skills. And then one of the things we talked about when I was talking with you was about sales, or maybe something more of the line of consulting, some along that line, because I have skills already there. It's just me now just learning that culture, that environment, and then applying my skills to it.
Yeah. So Tim, along those same lines, are you willing to also include being a sugar baby as one of your skills? Because if we go to Florida and there's ample opportunities down there, are we willing to explore that as an opportunity as well?
Well, I'm too dark for OnlyFans, so.
So I'm kind of the same way. Like for me, I've been looking at, of course, I'm always adding real estate, but I'm also just looking at the way things are going, especially, financially. So, I have a real estate license. I'm using that more. I'm looking at getting a Series 65. I'm looking at adding on stuff just for like the potential, because I'm always like, okay, what if they say to talk about finances and stuff, you got to have this one day? Well, I'm trying to be in that direction where I already have it, just to kind of head off the way things may head. And then on top of that, I'm focused now. And that's why I'm starting to really look at more like, I've been in the management side. Management can be real lucrative, but just looking at the time you spend on commutes, those types of things, I'm looking at more so some type of job with, computing and stuff, just based off of, not that I mind to go work somewhere and stuff like that, but if I can do things that give me my time back, where I can kind of work where I'm at. And I'm not saying full digital nomad, but anything that gives me my time back to be as efficient as possible, that's what I'm looking at doing. Because I know ultimately being able to take that time, you think about how much some people commute over a lifetime, it literally adds up to years. So being able to put myself in position to get that time back, and then be able to focus that in on just building wealth, even more so. People don't think about it that way, but if it takes you, if you spend an hour in the car one way or 45 minutes, you're talking a lot of time, months and years. So just trying to figure out somewhere where I can be more detached from it, and be able to do my own thing. So that's really where I've been focusing mine in on. And I agree with you. You got to think about it. This $100,000 thing, it's like one of the few things, like, no one has reset this. People have been talking about this for like 40 years. from where if you're making 100,000, you were basically rich, right? But nobody's reset this thing. It's like 100,000. Not mentioning houses have quadrupled and more since then, and we still talking about $100,000. It's just not. It's not that much anymore. It's just not. There'll come a time when if you make 100,000, you'll be embarrassed. I mean, that's the truth. And some people would be already, so recalibrating that. But yeah, definitely. I'm always thinking ahead and just trying to build on top of it. I do have sales experience. I got managed experience managing 200 plus people, but what can I add to it more on the technical side and things like that? And what a lot of people don't realize is, look, that even if it's not a true, engineer or something like that, the person, I'm telling you, the person that I have worked with for years at different places, that even just from reports, being able to make ad hoc reports, different little stuff that nobody else can do, that's always the person. Like, we literally have had reports named after people because they're so important to the industry. And that person always has a job, because it's like, what are we going to do? We only know how to get this from this person. What are we going to do? And I've literally had jobs where the person literally passed away and we couldn't even get reports anymore that we had to have to do the job. I mean, people don't understand. There are companies out here not running very efficient, and they're literally depending on one person. Yep. And that person may not do much at all, but because they provide those reports, they get paid well, and they're just that guy. That's literally like, we have reports named after like somebody's last name. And you'd be asking like, how to get that name? Well, he created it. And the guy's not even there anymore. But, he trained somebody over like the course of like 2 months to figure out how to run it. And it just kept that person's name. They've been gone for years. So absolutely just continuing to build on it. And
you could be a full digital nomad, Perry.
Yeah, that sounds dreamy to me.
I actually see you getting into product management.
Yeah, I've been looking at that. I've actually been looking into that lately. Some stuff like that. I
actually see you on that side of product management. I would go check out Product School on YouTube.
Okay.
And they actually have a Slack channel where they bring in product managers and they actually talk about their day-to-day. It's a group in there. They're always throwing in jobs. They actually do mock interviews and stuff like that. And so I would look at product management as a guide. And only reason why is because you gain that technical experience that you want,
right?
But you also, if you don't have to use it every day, it's not gonna hold you. You know what I'm saying? You're not gonna get penalized,
right? Absolutely, that definitely makes sense. Sense.
So yeah, I would look at that, and another one I would look at as well too. Because I know you said you got a supply chain background. I would look at no code, low code.
Okay.
And
no code, low code.
And the reason why is because that gets into the side of not just supply chain, but it also gets into automation where you're actually building the code. And basically, you're not even really coding. You're actually just dropping blocks in to create the code. And therefore now you have that ability to do everything that you need to do in terms of not having to go back to school to learn how to code and so forth. So
that makes sense.
I would look at, and those jobs pay as well too.
Okay, absolutely. I definitely will.
Yeah, Tam's a wealth of information, and she stays out here in the tech streets, and so she's very, very attuned with the things that are happening out here. So it's really, really important for you to take the time out to go to Women in Linux. Like I said, that tech, stocks, and jobs, man, that conversation about money, putting yourself in position, having a strategic mindset about the money once you've attained it, what to do with it to keep Uncle Sam from digging his hands all the way in it. I mean, it's a beautiful conversation in my eyes. So I definitely think that you all should take the time out to check that out, right? So we're going to go to the chat real quick. So salute to SquareBiz. SquareBiz came over here, said, she said, not a sugar baby, right? So check this out, right? So look, listen, Tim is available. Listen, if you have an estate plan, right? if you have an estate plan in place,
You
if
trolling, Sim. You trolling.
Tim, you got your pictures out here. Y'all out here.
if you have an estate plan,
listening.
listen, Tim is available only for the exclusive class. You know what I mean? Only for the women with an estate, you know, in place. So. But yeah, so that's what Square Biz was saying. She didn't know that you were out there making yourself available for the Dominiques out there, the ladies giving them flowers. Listen, I've never had a woman give me flowers at a club. Listen, I've never been to St. Pete either, though, right? Listen, let me tell you something funny. Look, in 2020, April of 2020, right? So I purchased a car and my sister purchased a car, right? And we went to go pick up the cars at the same time, right? It was 3 of us. My brother and I were going to drive the cars back. My sister flew back, right? So we had to go to Delray Beach in order for us to pick up a car first, right? So we arrived there at the Toyota dealership and we pull up and I'm looking at it. It was sunny. This is just when COVID started, right? It's sunny and it seemed like Florida was not concerned at all about the pandemic, right? So
He wasn't.
So we're there. So we're there at the dealership, right? We're waiting for her paperwork to be done. I'm standing there in the parking lot and I see like this older lady, right? And I'd always told myself, I said, man, if I could find a place where all the old people hang out, you know, and a grandma's driving a car. We know she only drives a golf cart majority of the time, right? So if I could get a car that a grandma owned, man, we know that car went to the dealership for every single service. So look, I'd seen this lady, this older lady, speeding out of there when I first pulled up, right? And I see her come back. And I say to her, I said, hey, excuse me, ma'am. I said, what's the local newspaper that you all look at here in this area? And then she says, well, it's the whatever the Delray paper is, right? And I said, you know, I would love to have an opportunity to be able to advertise to people who live here so I can advertise to them that I'd be willing to buy their car, right? She says, oh, okay. She says, you know what? I can go get you a paper if you want, right? And I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, I'll go home and go grab you one real quick, right? Man, this lady drives home to her house, right? She was driving a Camry, I swear she was like 80 something, scary, right? She's driving home to go get the paper. She comes back and brings me the paper. And I said, man, Florida got a different kind of people, man, because the idea of an older lady just taking out the time to do that, but it was probably because I was young and she was saying, hey, you know, listen, if I have an opportunity to help this young man out.
Some info and Tim got a paper.
That's what I'm talking about, man. Listen, I got a paper. He got flowers.
So now we need to get TLA down here so he can get some. He said he holding out for Oprah, but your Oprah may be right here in St. Pete. She might be right. She might be right on Beach Drive in one of them $1 million condos, waiting, just looking at you. There he is, right there. Come down.
TLA.
Smiling.
All you gotta do is come
like,
and take
hey,
a stroll.
Fella.
Go ahead and get oiled up and go down there just like this right here. TLA, you come down there looking like this right here, you'll be able to do some damage, man.
Oh yeah, they're gonna eat TLA up. He tall too. He tallest thing. Oh,
go ahead, TLA.
And Southern. They gonna be like, hey, daddy.
Hey, I remember the first time I saw TLA in person. I was like, man, this brother got people fooled in this shirt, man. He in these suits, man. He really do be working out.
Yeah, man, he can do some damage out there. He said he's waiting for Oprah. Go ahead and get you a starter Oprah for now. But yeah, so yeah, here's TLA saying hello to Square Biz. Salute to Friendsgiving. Welcome to the channel. We're glad that you're here. We're happy to see you here. Here we go right here. Look at Lee. Lee says, he says, y'all are privileged as hell. 6 figures ain't shit. Half of America makes less than $48,000 a year. I mean, yeah,
I get it. I hear that conversation all the time, and you know what I say to that conversation? I say, and Tim hears this all the time. How do we change it? How do we change that conversation? How do we say that that our entire crew and the people that we hang out with, everybody is making 100,000? How do we change that? Right? And so that's why I do my shows, right? I do those shows to talk about, hey, here's how you can make $100,000. Here's the pathway to make $100,000. Here are the people who are hiring, and the job is a minimum 100,000, 150, 200,000. I brought people on to show you how to the skills that you need to get the job that's paying $1 million. Like on Web3 side, they're paying for you to write smart contracts and understand blockchain, and they're paying $1 million. If you understand C++ and quant development, they're paying $2 million. And I brought people on so that you know that these jobs exist, right? We don't have to sit back and take the job that's paying you the 50 and 60. Here's the skills that you need. Here's the free skills that you can go get. Here's where you can get them for free. Here's where you can start getting your resume built up. And here's the person who's hiring, who's the hiring manager, who I know personally. And here you go interview with them, go through the steps. If it takes you a year, it takes you a year, but I'd rather for you to be on the path than sitting back wondering, right, like, what do I need to do, right? So that's just my thing. This is the things that I get excited about. Like, let's get to it. Let's build your wealth. Let's look at your let's build your portfolio. Let's do that, right? Versus being on the side and saying, well, I'm not in that. I'm in that 48, 50K range, and I get it. You know, that's the reality for a lot of Americans, but it doesn't have to be, right? We can change that. That's just my personal thought.
Yeah, for sure.
But you know, you leave it up to YouTube. Everybody's already making 100,000 though. Everybody on YouTube make 100,000 already, right?
I get it.
If you hear how people be talking.
Hey man, on my show, and I covered this on my shows, on my meetups. I literally pull out my offer letters, the jobs that I work. I'll walk through it. People that hired me, I bring them in, because I don't want people to get the misnomer or like, oh, you can't do that. No, here it is. Here's the job offer. Here's why I turned this particular offer down. They're still hiring for this. Go interview this week. Like, I literally walked through that, because I just want people to understand that on the tech, on the infrastructure side, understanding Linux, understanding cloud, understanding DevOps, understanding embedded engineering, even mainframes. Like, IBM is still hiring people to come in and help them build out mainframes, because most of the banks are not moving away from mainframes. And as the baby boomer generation goes off to retirement, or not training people, they don't have enough people that understand mainframes. So those mainframe jobs are readily available and still hiring. Supercomputing, and those jobs are not like $70,000 jobs. They're $100,000 jobs, $150,000 jobs. You just got to do the work. But if you don't want to do the work, and you're on YouTube all day, 15 hours, you ain't gonna make it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Listen, hey, you could be like TLA and just hope that Stedman for some reason just acts up and he gets out of the way, and you can be lined up for Oprah, But there's probably a line of men who are sitting up there plotting on Stedman's position, So I don't know how much we can count on that.
Right? Trying to move into the spot.
Listen. All right, so we had Uncle Stu, and so yeah, it's just like, it's really interesting, and I think that it's really good to have you on the panel to be able to speak to this, because you are out here and you have an opportunity to really just share with us like your sentiment, because you have over 20 years in the tech space, and I'm just fresh in the space. I just have 2 years myself, and it's just something that I believe that has a great upside if you're in a space where it's an in-demand role and it's something that people really, really need. And they can't say that they can operate the book of business without you, right? Here goes Mr. Awesome. He says, TLA is built like the man of steel. Yeah, quiet as kept. He talks about the Intentional Millionaire, and he says the Intentional Millionaire is doing what do you call them? Those hippie exercises. So yeah, he talks trash about the Intentional Millionaire.
Right. Yeah.
Isn't that what he says, Tim?
Yeah, he talking about an old intro that I had for the channel.
Oh, it was the intro.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
so here's a sidebar question. When is TLA and Tim and Sim going on a dating show? When y'all gonna go on a dating show? When that's gonna happen? Let me see.
Well, we had SquareBiz. SquareBiz was pitching an idea last Monday, right? We couldn't get her to actually pin it down. She didn't want to say that she wouldn't date a guy who made $40,000 a year. You know? So she didn't want to admit it. So TLA tried to kind of corner into it. You know, she said that she's never dated anyone who made that much money, but for some reason she thought that there were women out here that exist that would be willing to date those men. So, so it's just a matter of time. You know, we trying to put these women through these paces. We got to figure out where they exist, and somebody who wants to cooperate with us and make it work. It's a battle out here, Tam. You don't know. It's a battle. You know. I have
my own thoughts, but I'm gonna reserve my thoughts because this is not my channel.
Go ahead. Tell us your thoughts. I mean, we'll see. We'll see.
Because my thoughts gonna be controversy.
We'll see if SquareBiz is up here that she can speak to her position and tell us about her. She had an idea about doing a dating show where the men are up there. Let's say it's one man with three women, right? And TLA would be the one really asking the pointed questions, which is really good because TLA has a way of getting past the fluff and really asking questions about why someone wants to do something. You know, so his experience in the courtroom really allows him to be able to ask pointed questions about intentionality. And so you can tell from his platform, some of the people that he's asked, both men and women, right? He asked very specific questions about what the desired outcome that they have in mind. So it's a really good idea. You have to go to his, I want to say his locals. It was on his locals where he actually had this conversation, and it was really good. Last Monday, and our channel friend, our sister to the channel, SquareBiz was speaking about how she saw value in the opportunity for men to be in a choosing position, and then TLA would be the one that's aiding in the decision making.
Yeah, I actually had an idea for years ago, still an idea floating around for a dating app for geeks and nerds. I have found that I guess I don't know if I'm considered a geek or a nerd. I don't know which one I am, whatever the case may be, but it was more or less along the lines of having the ability to have a different type of date, right? Instead of going out to eat, you could go cook with each other, and if somebody was into anime, they could dress up as a character. If somebody was into Lord of the Rings, they could dress up as a character, and they can go cook together and then have the movie playing in the background. But there it is a date where, if you are into chess or into whatever, the date will facilitate that, where you can switch off, like almost kind of like speed dating, but just being able to be in the room with people that are following things that you follow. Like if you're super into cars, or if you're super into how computers work, or how does the financial market move on a technical analysis or whatnot, you have that ability to be in a room with people who are like-minded as you are, and then date them. But I know some people don't want to date people that have the same type of like mind. But I also have found, just me personally, that when they don't have the like mind, I find people kind of boring sometimes. So I don't know. That's just me. But again, to each his own. But that was one of my dating ideas.
Yeah, I like that idea. Growing up, I remember people playing Dungeons and Dragons, and me working in an engineering firm. I recall I worked for the energy company here before, and we had one person who was like, who would be considered a nerd, right? But then going to the engineering firm, you have a whole building of people with quirky personalities. Some people have just found cool recently. Some people are still wearing the pants that are jacked up. I didn't see no pocket protectors, but you could definitely hear them talking through their nose. And
I know plenty of pocket protector men. They wear pocket protectors, their jeans pulled up to their navel, combat boots, and got
yeah.
5 cats. I know plenty of, of men like that.
And at lunchtime, you would see them playing World of Warcraft. They were playing different card games at lunch, and it became an environment where I just learned that you just have to embrace everyone's different quirks. A lot of people contribute in different ways, and they're cool in the different ways. And I think it's that opportunity to really just acknowledge them for who they are and not look at them as being any different. And I appreciate that. And I'd almost say, I said it myself, that we are living in Revenge of the Nerds now, right? Because a lot of the nerds are winning, right? They're the ones who are making the sizable amounts of salaries, and they have an opportunity to really choose and pick the things that they do in their life now,
Yeah, we are in the Revenge of the Nerds, not only from just the dating perspective, but even even within the going for the interviews for the jobs as well too. It comes out in the interviews like, oh yeah, I'm a Trekkie, or yeah, I watched The Walking Dead. Did you see the last season? I went to the opening and I saw such and such character. Like that is really a thing in an interview. That's really a big conversation in an interview.
Yeah. So Tam, so if we were to just nail it down in preparation for people to ride out this recession that we have going on here, where would you say that is a good starting place for people to really start looking at from the standpoint of what they're doing today, and with the thought in mind about how they could pivot into the tech space? Where would you say that they should start?
Actually, I did this on the show this weekend, and Tim and Perry, please hop in on this thought process here. I went and looked up what rates the CDs were returning right now. So some of them are returning between 4 to 4.5. So you got an emergency fund that's sitting there in a savings account. It's not making any money. You could go do that. Another one was a high yield savings account, and then the other one, the I bond, is still doing 6.982 or 6.862, something like that. But I'm saying that all to say, like, especially when you are unemployed, right? At least have your money in an account that's making some money, even though you're not putting any in. You can still have your money making some money. And then the other piece to that, as far as getting your skill sets, it's Black Friday coming up, right? And for Black Friday, everybody goes on sale and sell their course. Coursera, O'Reilly, Pluralsight, Cloud Academy, all of those places uh usually have a half off sale. And so you could go get one of those subscriptions and get them half off. But the other one that we talked about yesterday, don't deny the fact that you have access to a library, and the library has access to like LinkedIn Learning. They also have access to places like Safari, where you can get those subscriptions for free and get free training and free guidance and resume building as well too, right? And then on top of that, start looking. When what I tell people, I don't care how long you've been in a job. I don't care if you've been in the job 15 years, right? You should always be interview resume ready, right? Because you never know, and the only way you're going to get there is you got to practice interviewing. If you're not practicing interviewing, you're always going to be scared to make the leap, right? You just never know what could happen. You could be interviewing, you could do an interview, and somebody could be offering you double your salary. Are you not going to take it? Are you going to like, well, I got this this pension over here, where's double your salary? You could take that and move that over and put double away, because you used to living off of that one salary, right? So again, I look at, right now we got the Black Friday coming up. Get those learning subscriptions. If you got money in an account somewhere, make sure it's making some money. And I'm being very conservative with the CDs, very conservative with a high yield savings account for a reason, because I don't want people to get into the market of stocks and they lose money, right? So something where you're getting 3 or 4% is fine for now. If you want more, go get an I bond, but you got to leave it in there for a year. So, you have to play with your cards, and then again, like I say, go to your local library where you get stuff for free. In terms of subscriptions to LinkedIn Learner and O'Reilly, where you can skill and train up. Those are my immediate thoughts. If like you were laid off yesterday or last week.
Yeah, definitely. Those are really, really good resources, And I don't know if there's ever been a time where we had an abundance of access to information like we have today. It's just wild, and it's easy for you to get caught up in analysis paralysis. And so if you're not really clear on where the opportunities lie, I said before, you can go on the Women in Linux channel, and you can have an opportunity to really start to see how Tam's mind works, right? Like if you can develop the ability to reason the way that she reasons with 20 years of experience, it will help you make sound decisions that will be aligned with the things that you want to accomplish. I strongly suggest that, because that's what I've been able to gain as a result of me going on her platform, because I know she's not up there just selling things only for her benefit. She's sharing information that she's saying, hey, listen, I'm looking at things, and as a result of me seeking out this information, now I want to bring it back to you all, because it's something that's been valuable to me in my pursuits, and then hopefully it can help you out in your pursuits. So now I'll go to you, the Intentional Millionaire. What are your thoughts on the state that we're in today? With all these layoffs, what do you recommend that people really start taking a look at in preparation for the possibility of them being a part of the layoffs? And I know Tam said something that you said before about I-bonds, and so I'll allow you to go ahead and say some of the things that you think that people could really benefit from doing.
I think everything Tam mentioned is dead on, and I would just add to. I think the first thing they just got to identify what do they want to do next, and now start mapping out what does that process look like. Also, when it comes to the finance, I think what she mentioned, just like Tam mentioned, I did a stream talking about high yield savings accounts. It's the safe place that people can put their money. I'd like to say, because people get so caught up on it has to be making a max rate of return on the money, but I think anything is better than zero. So I think that's the start, especially for the money that you're going to need now, may need tomorrow. You want to at least making something. The next thing I think what people have to identify is they got to identify what their habits are. Because I think regardless of all that, they can't, if they looking at, or they fear that they may be getting laid off, or they don't know, or the uncertainty, now they got to identify what bad habits they may need to alter, change. And I like to say, instead of taking that habit and make it a bad thing, take that same habit and turn it to a new skill. Because I think if you don't identify what you're doing wrong or what you probably could do better, I think that's where you could have more problems going through the entire process of unemployment, looking for work, not going through the process. I think Tam mentioned it well. Also, I think even if you're not necessarily looking at a job, if you have the time now, you want to get comfortable with the interview process. So even if it may not be a job that you're looking at or you may be considering, sometimes you got to also think about how can you catapult from an interview. So let's just say if you're going in and they may be hiring for a level one, let's just say a level one engineer, but you want to ultimately end in management. So you may need to ask them at the interview, well, what type of management opportunities you have? I understand I'm here for engineering because one, you could still learn the interview process, but two, I think they're going to appreciate more when you come in and you're focused on a wave going forward. So I think you can even ask, hey, well, what management opportunities do you have? Also, I think in wherever you're currently working, if they have training, if they pay for schooling, if they have management programs internally, you might want to take advantage of it because you want to take advantage of learning whatever universal skills you can. Tam mentioned one of us, sales skills. The next thing is making sure you take advantage of soft skills. Learn soft skills, learn how to interact and commingle with people. Because then that's going to give you the leverage you need. And then in the same process, I think you just got to execute. I think you still have to execute. And in the process, find someone that you can piggyback ideas off of as you're going through whatever you're going through. And make sure you sit down and have more discussions. I like to say, if nothing else, have a weekly checks and balance meeting with yourself based on where you're trying to go, what you want to do, especially if you're in a fear-based state, because the one thing you don't want to do is make decisions and you not in your clearest frame of mind or your clearest reference, because when you make decisions in a fear state, they're normally not the best decisions. So the key is we got to get out of having survival decisions and have realistic strategic decisions. That's all I would necessarily add.
Salute. That's plenty. That's plenty. All right. So Perry, what are your thoughts? What do you think people need to really start considering now as we are seeing layoffs and they can prepare themselves going into the future, sir?
Yeah, I think Tam and Intentional Millionaire touched on it really well. It's you got to constantly be. One thing is I like the interview piece. You got to be interviewing. So even if it's a job, in my opinion, of course, Tam was speaking from a standpoint of, you have a job, you should be interviewing, right? Even if you're not actively seeking. But I think even if you get an opportunity for a job and you already kind of know, hey, it might not pay exactly what I want, you really still want to go on that job interview to see where you're at. It's all repetition, right? You're going to get a chance to see some of the questions, because at the end of the day, regardless of the type of job, a lot of times, a lot of the same questions are asked. So it comes down to just getting the practice of the interviews, but it does go back to skills, continuing to put yourself in a position and work towards acquiring the skills that you need. And that's never ending. But the real piece is just, know the facts around it. Know the facts around, I think Tam said earlier, as far she referenced Anheuser-Busch, it's easy to look in the media and see all these jobs that are laying off, but there's tons of jobs that aren't laying off. And I do know, at least for me, I mean, as long as I have been working in the in supply chain, certainly in, like food service distribution and that element, I mean, layoffs just don't typically happen very often. I mean, because one thing that doesn't change is food. And even restaurants, while there may be shifts and things like that, people still eat out, people still do stuff. That doesn't change. So you just got to know the facts behind it and don't get caught up in what the media is showing, because they're harping on one industry or two. And the reason why is, you got to think about it. When you hit the tech industry, I mean, we know that everybody has a love affair with these big tech guys and gals too. They want to know everything there is from Elon. They want to know, as far as finances, Kathy Woods. They want to hear about this stuff all the time. So that's why it's an opportunity for the media to hit that up and then get them. They come in, they do their talking. This is just about the media perpetuating a lot of this. But know that you got to think and put yourself, are you working for Twitter? No. So what's the real deal behind it? What skills do you have, and do you have to wear? But also always be on your guard, though. Always be on guard that layoffs can happen at any time. And I like what Tam said earlier. 8 months or more should be I mean, I agree with that. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, me being a married man, you know, my wife and I try to live where we can live off one income, you know, so we just try to roll that way, period, because it's just a lot easier. And you know, having all kinds of cars and all kinds of stuff you don't need, it's not going to add up to the best situation. There's a time and a place for that, but people know if they're there or not. I mean, people know if they can afford to do those types of things. So I think everybody's situation is different, but it's just really keeping the right mindset. That's the biggest piece of it.
Yeah, very true, man. And you know, I second everything that you all said, and I really don't have nothing to add to it. You know, I just really think that it's just a matter of people really choosing the things that they're doing. Figure out where you can trim the fat. You know, do you need all the subscriptions? You know, and you know, do you really have an accurate account of how your money is being spent? You know, I would like to say that all the banking institutions, every single month, whenever they do the statements, they give you an option for you to download your statements. You can download your statements and put them on an Excel sheet. You can do a basic formula. And I'm working on putting together a basic formula. I actually have one, but mine is a little bit complicated, where you can just download the format that your bank already provides you, and all the additions and subtractions are already done as a result of it being on the debit column or the credit column. It's just that I really need to understand how the different platforms do it, but it's a simple formula. And if we can really just focus on having an accurate post, having an accurate account of exactly how this money is being spent, it's going to allow us to be more prepared if these companies decide they don't want to partner with us and they want to go in a completely different direction. So I'm going to go over here to the chat one last time, and let's see. So here we go. We have Mr. Awesome. That was Tam referring to Mr. Awesome about she tried anime and she liked it a little bit. I don't know nothing about anime. I don't know why I never got into anime. I think for me, I spent time trying to be cool. I was like the undercover nerd, you know.
Well, check out, you know, we got an anime. Check out Fist of the North Star. But
Fist of the North Star. Yeah, you know, like the most I know about anime is like Sailor Moon, and I don't even think that's anime.
I think that might be the original anime, right? In America, anyway, right?
Is
like
it?
That we got exposed to.
Yeah, I mean, I never watched Dragon Ball Z, man. I was just a different dude. I like to be outside, man. So you could count on me like climbing a tree and just being outside, riding my bike. Those are the things I was into.
Like, is the last Airbender anime? Like, I don't even know. Like, I used to watch.
It's an anime and it's the movie, but the movie was horrible.
Okay, I used to watch a little bit of the last Airbender. I pretty much used to watch all of it.
Oh, we need to do a review on that one.
Yeah.
Last Airbender, I was expecting so much out of that.
That movie was horrible.
It was horrible.
I didn't see the movie, but I used to see the cartoon.
It was terrible.
Yeah, you know, don't you hate that though? You know, you have all these expectations, you expected it to really like be over the top, and then the movie, it almost seems like they run out of money and they just can't do everything that you expect.
I heard that about Black Panther too, by the way. I haven't seen it yet, but
you
I
think
haven't
so?
seen it yet either.
I don't know. I'm just saying I've heard some people that were a little were underwhelmed. I don't know if that's correct or not.
I don't know, man. The movie was pretty good. I'm a little bit biased. I know somebody that was in both of the movies. So I mean,
okay. Someone said there was no brothers in it. I don't know if that's true or not, but
they were in it. I mean, their favorite brother was in it. I mean, I'm not going to say who it is, but I mean,
right.
It had some. I mean, they had.
Oh, I know who it is. You said their favorite brother. I think I got an idea who it is.
So yeah, their favorite brother was in the movie, bro. I mean, you know, I'll let y'all check it out. Here goes Mr. Awesome. What was he saying? You haven't found the right
the right anime series.
Oh, okay.
To watch, and you know, like, you know, you grew up watching all of the Asian movies, the kung fu movies. I'm here to. You know, like
I love those movies.
Yeah,
exactly. I love like like the kung fu flick. I love those movies.
Where the new guy comes to town, he goes in, he's got his little smoke, and it's time to fight. You know, it's just I enjoyed those. And I'm dating myself, so I know this is going to probably, you guys probably never heard of Spectre Man. The let's see, it was Spectre Man. I'm an old He-Man, Thundercats, the all the old,
Voltron.
yeah, Voltron. Even the old school King Kong movies where they would have a train running through and it fall off the track, but it'd be a little train track.
Yeah.
No, just like the old Godzilla movies.
The old
Yeah.
Godzilla movie.
Remember
yeah.
how like the voice ain't match up with
The voice ain't match up.
yeah, I used to watch like Drunken Master, all the old flicks. Yeah, I love
Jackie
stuff like that.
Chan was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm a big Jackie Chan fan. I've seen every Jackie Chan movie ever. Yeah, I'm a big
Bruce
fan
Lee
of that.
fan, and TLA cracked on me because when I shot my first video, I had a poster of Bruce Lee in the back.
yeah. This is what's up with Bruce Lee?
I like Bruce Lee.
Yeah, Bruce Lee was the man. I grew up on that. So if I'm even dating myself, for me, I actually modeled my life as a man around MacGyver, right? I said that there would never be a situation where I wasn't able to take the resources around me and to use them in order for me to fix and repair things. So I'm mechanically inclined today.
Now some of that stuff didn't work.
Listen. I mean, all he needed was a paper clip, the wrapper from the gum, a battery,
a popsicle stick, and I can start the car.
I've seen every single MacGyver ever, every last one of them. I'm a big fan of that. I like Bond movies too.
Yeah,
I just like people who got little knickknacks to rise to the occasion when stuff pops off. You know what I'm saying?
So my favorite character was Inspector Gadget.
Yeah, I like Inspector Gadget too, though.
I like Inspector Gadget.
Go
like,
Gadget, go!
But I also like Pink Panther. So
Yeah,
absolutely. Old school.
I don't know. I didn't watch Pink Panther. I wouldn't sit down and commit myself to watching Pink Panther. The stuff that I would commit myself to actually watching was like the Turtles. At some point, it was like Captain Planet. Not even X-Men. So look, I was not introduced to X-Men until I came to America in 1993. So I didn't know about X-Men until 1993. I didn't know about Jackie Chan until 1993. And I think I knew about Bruce Lee. But, growing up, I used to watch, like, before 1993, I was watching the Delta Force, the Delta Force movies, the Rambo movies, all the shows that Tim was talking about. The A-Team.
I used to watch the A-Team.
Magnum P.I. Of course, MacGyver, Michael Knight. That was like really like sparked like my desire for tech, right? And we said back then, right? Oh man, a car that can drive itself. Oh, it's a dream, And look what
but what y'all know about the old shows my grandma put me on to? Look, we used to watch In Heathen Night.
The series
Andy Griffith. We watched them all. And what's crazy is it's crazy to think back. My grandmother, we watched Emeril Lagasse religiously. And it's crazy to look back now, seeing how like he really was. I mean, he single-handedly built the Food Network basically on his back. Like when it came to like reality, like that kind of reality cooking shows and just like, it's crazy just to look back. But yeah, man, we used to watch that hardcore. And then my granny would start watching the soap operas during the summer. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna be out. I'll come back later. I ain't trying to watch Victor Newman no more. Okay.
It's the same way with if you look at your MTV Cribs.
Oh yeah.
What was the guy, the Rich and the Famous?
Yeah. Robin Leach.
Yeah, Robin Leach. He was the original, MTV Rich and the Famous.
Yeah, those old I mean like Heather B, like them first Real Worlds.
Right.
Like when dudes smacked the girl. And that's when like a dude, if a dude smacks a girl now, it's wrong, but people aren't even shocked. Nah, people were floored, like he had shot somebody. That's how serious it was. And he slapped her straight across the face. I mean, it's just crazy stuff like that. But it's crazy how stuff has just transformed and stuff. So,
but speaking of that, the reason why we have transformed, because we now have technology in every facet of your life, right?
Yes.
I can look at people's YouTube channel and they'll have a camera in their microwave. I'm like, why is the camera in the microwave?
It's crazy, isn't it?
What are we trying to capture here?
Yeah.
What are we trying to capture here? Like, we're capturing every second of life. But before that, there used to be just webcams up in random places, just watching, like, watching people walk down the street, or just having random webcams, and then that turned into reality shows, and now we have technology that has taken on its own life, if you really want to be truthful about it, because we got in Japan and in China, they're not even dating each other anymore.
Yeah, that's crazy.
They're dating AI. They're literally dating their phone.
That's crazy,
right? So we're at the junction there where we're not even really having human interaction anymore.
That's what I'm afraid to lose. I'm afraid to lose that. Like, I do stuff intentionally just to like step off the grid and I'm not even saying off the grid, but just like I'm trying to work on like just putting the phone down and just saying, you know what? Let me peace out. Let me just go walk where I can't do nothing but just look at the trees just for a second to remember what it used to be like when, hey, I ain't have no cell phones. Like, you need to reach me. You got to call somebody, but hey, I'm coming over there. Hey, is he there yet? Not just like this constant, hey, where you at? Where you at? But like, hey, I'm driving. Hey, call me. It's like, yo, let me get there. I'm only going like 15 minutes away. Like, so yeah, like I just remember being able to pick up, I want to reach my mom. I'm in high school. I pick up the payphone. And when they say your name, I'm like, hey, Mom, it's Chris. Come get me. They be like, you have a call from, hey, Mom, it's Chris. Come get me. And I hang up and don't charge me. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's just crazy, though. The world has changed. But I think it's important to use that and stay on top of it. But at the same time, make sure we don't get to the point like, because even with the metaverse and all that, I'm cool with it. But I don't want a world where we basically just log on to some computer all day and like we just show up as some representative of ourselves. Like, right. I don't want to be on here talking to y'all as an avatar. I want to be myself. You know what I'm saying? Like a regular person. So
here's a different question. And I know, Sam, you wanted to wrap this up. Just something I thought about.
We're good.
Do you think that we being on social media has taught people how to treat you in general as people?
No.
Okay.
I say
why
no.
You say no?
I say no because I think that's things that you really get from the interaction of people. I think what social media has, it really exposed people lack thereof of learning how to treat people.
And when I say treat people, I'm not talking about good. I'm talking about bad.
Well, I'm saying both.
Okay.
Because I just believe that it's some things that's foundational, because I think when we are a child, we emulate what we see and what we hear, and that's what we normally do. So if you don't have that as a child, most of the time in your formative stage, most people not going to go back and make the changes necessary. So it's just kind of like when you think about tech, the challenge is not people don't have the opportunity or the information in front of it. It's just are they willing to make the changes that they need for them to carve out that path and start to work on that path. So the same way I kind of look at it with tech, I look at it with just their interaction with people. If you know that, you come from a background, you didn't feel love or whatever the case may be, then the question is, are you starting to surround yourself with people that truly, genuinely love you? And do you know what love really is? But also, have you done the work to fix whatever you need to fix so you can love yourself first? But I think online, it takes away from those fundamental things. If you have it or even don't have it, at least for me, that's what I see. I think it online really exposes people, because I think even just the fact that we all on this panel, we have a conversation. Nobody's talking over each other. We had, some discord on some stuff we kind of pushed back on, but it wasn't the attack on the person. It was just talking to the concept, because I think when you come from things with the fact of communication, you genuinely love from the standpoint of, you don't necessarily have to say you love that person, but you love the fact of being able to be in the presence of good people. And with that comes, you try to bring your best representation of yourself. So I think online, I just think a lot of that is lost. I think online that's the pro and con of it, because online there's no barrier to entry.
Mm-hmm.
At least for me.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. And I think also, like, even us having this conversation, if we start getting into money, right, making money, we can actually talk about credentials, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying everybody has to have a degree, but we're talking about experience here. Mm-hmm. What I notice is everybody makes tons of money. Nobody's talking about how they got to it. And we're just supposed to take them at face value. So it's even hard to help people, because people won't even be honest about where they're at. I'll be the first person to tell you, hey, I make 20 grand and this is BS. I need help. I would have no problem doing that. That's what I used to do back in the day. It's like, yo, this is not going to cut it. And I remember saying, man, if I can make 250 a week, I'd be balling. If I can make 400 a week, if I can make 1,000, if I can make 2,000, you work your way up. But everybody's making it. Like, you can't even get people online in a real state to come to you and be like, hey, I'm making this. Here's what I'm at. What I need to get here. And it's just, it takes the realness out of it. But that's because the same place where you can learn and become anything you want to be, you got people, so many people faking like they're big time. It forces people to want to put on a show when they should be using it not to show off what they don't have and act like it, to actually use it to come up. So it's one of those places where, with good comes evil. That's just kind of how it is. And it's about using it in the right way.
So my pushback to that one is that this is my experience. Mm-hmm. What I've seen is you could tell people how you got there and they still don't believe you. And
yeah, you're right.
You know what I mean? And
yeah, that's true.
Even to add to that is, this is my favorite, is that work for you and you're a dinosaur, so they ain't gonna work for me now.
You're right.
You haven't adjusted to the times now. And what I'm saying is, I'm still in the industry and you trying to get there.
Yeah, you're right. My mom used to say this all the time. She's like, I got mine, you got to get yours. When I be mad about homework or something like that, she's like, I got mine, you need to get yours. Right. But yeah, that's a great point that you make. And it almost makes you, for me anyway, it's made me at times almost resentful, because you're trying to help people when you're spending time. And it's like, hey, in my real life, I'm over here getting it. Mm-hmm. And like you said earlier, like, I know you ain't doing that well if you're online all day long. Like, nobody who's making a great living, unless they make it, like, if TLA's online all day, that's cool, because we know he's actually making money doing that. Mm-hmm. But for the majority of people, like, you're online all day from a standpoint of watching and just up on a panel, just talking and just going up talking. You're not getting no money. You're not getting no money, especially not at no 23 years old. You're not doing it. You ain't. And if you're 70, maybe, you know what I'm saying? Maybe you could be retired, military, anything. Mm-hmm. So there's certain people. So me and Uncle Stu talk about it. Uncle Stu can do what he wants. He's retired from the military. He can do anything he wants. That is not most people's case. You know what I'm saying? So, and like I say, when me and Uncle Stu do talk, you're able to understand why he can do that, right? He can justify that. But to your point, people will still say it's cap, and it's like,
Correct.
see, it's a crazy world. It really is. It really is.
And I've learned this year too, right? Like you have to be very, very calculated about the things that you share, you know. And I learned earlier this year when we had like a little bit of the tension in this space, you know, that the things that you tell people in confidence, you might be just having conversations just like right now, you know, some people can find it in themselves to just completely turn and then start using that as an opportunity to speak ill of you and to say, hey, this person is not this and they're not that. And it forced me into a place where I was shut off and I was saying, okay, all right, let me just assess what's going on. Let me see who's affiliated with this person. Let me see the things that I don't want to be affiliated with. And then let me make sure that I'm involving myself in an environment with people who are thinking about going forward and they're not just trying to leave a trail of destruction behind, you know. What were you saying, Tam?
No, I was saying what the question that I had asked earlier was more or less for me what I have seen as I think just my own personal experiences. I think social media has shaped how people treat each other, right? When you come from behind the screen and you meet the person in public, there is this notion that you are not you. When I say you, not you individual, but the collective you are a certain way. Therefore I'm going to treat you that way. That's just been my experience. And I think at some point, I think we're going to have to go back to the fact of meeting in person, or and meeting. And when I say meeting in person, it may not be a 50 people in person meet. It may be 10 people that just meet up in person and be a little bit more intimate with each other, and start talking and building their network and getting a chance to know each other. Like that's just my thought there, because I think we get lost. And I also think it's easier to get lost in a 50 person meetup where you can just go sit off to the side and not ever talk to anybody and just look, versus is you're with 10 people or 5 to 10 people. You don't have that ability. It's more, I don't want to say forcing you to talk, but there is a level of communication that is going to be expected of you in that intimate setting. Just my thoughts.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely true, and you know, it's been good that people have been able to comfortably meet. As we speak right now, TLA is scheduling a meetup in San Diego, and I think he might be even doing one in Atlanta before he actually does the San Diego one. He's supposed to be doing a meetup in January for all his subscribers. So I think that is good, but in that same vein, you know, you really have to be careful about the how much you broadcast that you're going to be in a city, you know, because now those same people who don't really rock with you, they want to pull up, you know, they want to show that they don't have no issues pulling up on you and facing you, you know, face to face. And I mean, who has time for that? And that's not really why we're on YouTube. At least that's not what I'm here for. And I'm not interested in any drama that doesn't help contribute towards my growth, you know.
I agree.
Yeah, so that's a good question. And you know, if I was to also answer that, you know, I'd say that social media does I don't think it teaches people how to treat you, but I think that people could find themselves actually being comfortable with you to the point where maybe they can treat you based upon how they feel that you rank in the hierarchy, you know, whether they feel like, you know, you're not worth their time or you might be worth their time. But it's really hard to tell. It's really hard to tell like people's true intentions until you've given them a little bit of rope and to see if that they're willing to actually follow through on the person that they projected themselves to be.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And I got one more thing, Sim, I want y'all to be looking for, because I can't necessarily find it.
Sure.
This FTX fallout, right, with the crypto and all that. I find it odd. I cannot find massive crypto YouTubers who were pushing this thing.
You don't think so?
I'm not saying they're not out there. It's because I'm looking back, right? And it's hard to try to find one video. But I find it very interesting that you got your Graham Steffens, your Andre, you got these massive channels that, and I literally said something about it. When they started coming over to crypto, I said they're going to get burned. They haven't spent the time. They're coming over here to get these views, but they don't understand. You can get the views. You can get 1 million views over here in crypto because the bull market and all that's good, but you don't understand how devious some of these projects are and how much money they'll put in front of your face. So I just find it funny that the biggest channels, I'm talking about 2.5, 1.4 million, whether it's BitBoy or different channels, they hate FTX. And I can't find, I'm not saying they didn't, but it's just weird that I can't. Usually you would hear people talking about how these crypto YouTubers were pushing it. It's odd that none of the talk is about them. It's all about these outsiders, these financial guys. And I'm starting to think, we pretty much all knew. We didn't know 100%, but it's just really odd. So it's telling me they did not want people who understood crypto to get involved and get paid because they knew they would be asking questions. So they went to the guys who kind of but it's just something weird. So I just want y'all to be looking. If y'all see any videos on crypto about FTX in terms of like big YouTubers pushing it, because I literally can't find it. And that's the weird. The first people that should be pushing that stuff are actual crypto channels. I can't find any evidence that any of them are. It's your Graham Steffens, your big financial YouTubers that were pushing it and got burned. So it's just it's the weirdest thing I've seen.
BitBoy Crypto, he's been talking about it.
Yeah, and see, he's been talking about it very negatively. So I was trying to look and see if maybe at some point he changed, but I can't find at any point where he was very positive on FTX. But I think a lot of it is because there was definitely some ill intent from the get with them trying to get in with the regulators and pretty much screw all of crypto and grab the money themselves.
You do understand how that came about, right? I kind of talked about that on my show.
You mean as far as the whole meltdown and how it kind of fell apart?
No, as far as the young lady over Alameda.
Oh my gosh. I saw some interviews a while back from her. She didn't, the way I saw her talking gave me concern. She's like, we don't really use math. We don't really, and I'm like, and you're running
but then again,
like this?
Like her father, I think her father or her mother was an econ major over at MIT. Her dad actually was a consultant to the SEC at one point.
Wow.
He's over at MIT.
Okay.
They say she's a proclaimed math whiz on top of all of that. So the fact they was able to get, they already had connections.
Yeah, I got you. That makes
sense.
What I'm
saying? They already had connections. So they knew what to do and how to play it and how to market it and what
how
to say. Right?
Yeah. It's changed the whole space. It'll change. It will force regulation. It's going to change a lot. So
that's a lot of money to be losing in one day.
Yeah. $10 billion gone. So yeah. But yeah, be on the lookout. If y'all see anything, even if you just come across a video that does say like some YouTubers, like bigger ones, were actually pushing it, it's just weird. I haven't been like, trying to find it hardcore, but just in looking, generally, I see crypto YouTubers push trash all the time, but it's weird. I'm not seeing them push. I never saw them strongly pushing that. So it's just really odd. And I heard, some people like Graham Steffens were making as much as $1 million to push those videos out on. And here's the thing. They couldn't have known fully. They couldn't have fully known because they don't understand crypto. But here's the thing. Any product you back, you got to be prepared for what can come of it. You're giving out financial information. So you gotta eat that,
Correct.
So
Yeah, I mean that's true. But even the people who did push it, do you think that they would leave their videos up or they would privatize them?
Well, that's part of the problem. Is I heard that Graham, at least on the money, what's that, Millennial Money, that they deleted all those videos
Oh,
because
really?
that was the channel being sponsored the most. See, I wouldn't have done that. If you look, if I do something like that, if I were to make a mistake like that, I'm gonna leave it up. I'm not trying to hide nothing because I have, and I wouldn't see. I'll never push anything that I don't personally use myself either, ever.
Yeah,
That's the biggest way to. That's why I say I'm gonna stay away from projects paying you to put out stuff. I'm gonna stay away from that. If it's a service I use, like a Ledger hardware wallet or something like that, yeah, I'll promote that. They want to pay me, that's fine, because I actually use it and I've been using it for years. But to pay to push a coin, because here's the deal: at the end of the day, it's a cycle. It's gonna go up and come down. There's no way, even if it's a great coin and it makes people millions, some people are gonna get burnt and it's gonna be my fault, right? So I just rather stay away from it because my name is more important to me than trying to make any amount of money. But not everybody thinks that way, though, so
yeah.
But yeah, that's something we can talk about, though. Definitely, we'll have to have a discussion on that. The fallout is on some of the other pieces because it keeps on raining down. So
yeah, I think and you're next up too, man. So I think that your platform is next up for us to have this conversation. So
absolutely,
I'll be interested to see what our conversation will be about. So do you all so any closing remarks, Tim, for the panel or for the channel?
Yeah, so I say first thing is thanks to everyone for tuning in. Shout out to everyone that joined in the chat. Shout out to the replay team. But the thing I want everybody to remember, we are in charge of our outcome, regardless of where you at right now in your current state, regardless of your background. All it takes is just a few steps and really selling out to it for the next 2 years, and you could totally change the outcome and the projection of your goals and your financial journey. So I say just stay focused, stay determined, ask questions, and start turn your 30 minutes of fun time to 30 minutes of learning time. And that's all I have.
Hey, so Perry, we can't hear you, Perry.
I don't have much to add other than just this is a journey, and I can tell you, no matter how well you're doing at one point, you're gonna have ups and downs. Like I even myself, I have times where I tell myself, you know what, you need to tighten up, refocus, keep your eye on the prize, the long term. And it's the times like this, which I'll kind of say is a downturn, where if you strategically get yourself ready, you make you make your best moves now. In times like this, you make your because everybody's scared now. So in real estate, in every facet, that is when you do things that so even think about this from a standpoint. All this laying off. If a company was financially ready, let's just think about Apple. Apple has tons of money. Right now, if I'm Apple, I'm looking at these layoffs and I'm saying, hey, that guy right there, I want him. And I don't care. I got the money to put into him. And I may be taking a hit for a while, but when times get to going good again, I've got him at my company. So you have to remember, be in position for these times is what allows you to strategically move in the right direction, when things are back up. So just remember that. Don't always look at when things tighten up as a bad time, but just keep on pushing forward. So that's all I got.
All right, Sam. And any closing remarks from you?
Yep. This is my rule of thumb just for myself. I'm always looking to increase my income at a minimum between $20,000 to $25,000 every year. And so I look at myself and say, okay, what skill sets do I need in order to make that happen? What can I do at this company that I'm at in order to increase that? Or I always look at myself as a business. What can I do outside of the company in order to get that extra $10 to $15,000 outside of the company? And that's just my rule of thumb. That has always been my rule of thumb. I'm always looking to increase my income, whether it be from consulting, whether it be from passive, or whether it be from working at the job and getting a promotion or what have you. That's just my rule of thumb. So if you always in that phase and always taking your money and having your money make you money and putting it into the correct pots, like I say, you can do a slow burn with, a CD or a IBAN or a ETF that you like, right? And you max out your 401k, your HSA. You could do a slow burn, or you could be aggressive and get into real estate and Airbnbs and so forth. But you know what your risk tolerance is better than anyone else. And if you don't, go take a risk tolerance quiz to figure what that is for you. Those would be my top things that I would do, that I already do, and I'm just lending that out to you. Hopefully that tweaks your ear.
All right. So I appreciate that. Appreciate that. And so for me, I just want to thank you all for coming onto the panel. I want to thank everyone that's in the chat. I really, I'm really happy that we were able to have this conversation, and it's really important that we take the time out to really assess what's going on in the market. Like they say that a smart man learns from his own mistakes, right? And a wise man learns from the mistake of others, right? So it's an opportunity for you to be prepared, figure out what you need to do in order for you to be in position. There's no way that we can today allow these companies to be our only opportunities without having an exit plan for ourselves specifically. It's really, really important that we are making ourselves our primary focus, because these companies are liable to do anything that they'd like to do at any given time. But at the end of the day, you have to make sure that you're operating as a business on your own and you're treating yourself as a business. Any partnerships that you have are supposed to be beneficial for both you and the organizations. So with that said, I would just like to say, appreciate you all for coming through. Anyone that's a part of the replay gang, please consider subscribing to the channel. Hit the like button before you sign off, and I look forward to talking to you all next time. All right, peace.